tell him. Yeah, there we go. I just turned it on. Where do you see him at?
And Wawa. I stopped in for coffee.
He's a hot mess.
He said to say hi.
Yes, absolutely.
I have done nothing, which is what I've been doing. I'm just monitoring them. And hope they're perfect. Because there's a lot of them.
Wow.
What's up? Did you bring one for me? Kevin,
Let me see your car.
did you bring one for me?
Got a full house. Let me see your car.
No,
Let me ask you a picture. Mr. Hagel made it tonight.
Mark, see any tears from what Man City's destruction?
no, I'm good. I have my own copy. Thank you. Yep.
It was great reading.
Talk about-
So
No,
good.
I just didn't get to read it.
And Arsenal had
I looked, the only chord that
two of them. They're two of them.
yeah, there's one that goes in.
They're still top of the table, but they're not going to make it. Too many injuries. They lack depth. And their best starting defender and his substitute, his replacement are both out. And his back line is- it's really a shame. But
I'd like to call this stated session of City Council to order. Please rise for the invocation followed by the pledge of the flag. Tonight we ask your wisdom to make some decisions that will affect our residents, make them the good decisions. Help us to carefully consider the relevant information that has been gathered before us. May those sharing the information give us pertinent points so we can clearly understand those issues and help us to be innovative as we brainstorm solutions. And most of all, help us to get the Choice Award neighborhood grant that so many individuals are working so hard to transform our West Ward neighborhood. And also watch over our police officer being promoted this evening and watch over our retiring officer. May his retirement be long and healthy. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Ettinger?
Here.
Mr. Milan?
Here.
Mr. O'Connell?
Here.
Dr. Ruggles?
Here.
Mrs. Sultana?
Here.
And Mayor Panto?
Here. Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
I'd like to take number 10 off the agenda and
Fire emergency.
the emergency, which is new business number 10. Subletter, paragraph letter B, bill number 20.
Are we taking off E and F?
Not that I'm aware of.
I thought we discussed it last night in committee.
Mr. Shear, do you want to relate to the reason why the developers agreement for A&R, D and E are both back on, and E and F are back on the agenda?
I think it's essentially a matter that in just checking with Mr. Hopkins and understanding what those documents are themselves, if there's some information that deals with the overall area, it has nothing to do with what these two agreements address. One being the obligations of the developer to the city, and the other one also being how they're going to deal with the wastewater issues. They have nothing to do with the particular issue that somehow has come up and raised, which doesn't change. That issue will have to be addressed if it's a legitimate issue, but it's not a reason why council should not act on the development agreement and the stormwater agreement, because they have nothing to do with that particular issue.
And am I correct, Madam Clerk, that when this was advertised, this budget had both of them on it?
Yes.
And I'd add too, that if the developer had wanted to requested it, that would be one thing, but the developer apparently doesn't want it removed, and I find no legal basis to be taking it off.
I find, again, as I spoke to the clerk earlier this week, I have no reason to keep it on, but if it's a typical, following our normal planning process, and it's been approved by the planning commission, the zoning board, and the historic district commission, I see no reason to take it off.
These agreements are when I say pro forma, every developer gives pledges to the city as to what work they're going to do, and that's all this addresses.
Yes.
So if there's any other issues, that'll work its way out, but
And my
it has
understanding is
no
that the
impact.
developer has taken the stormwater that was originally gonna go on, require an easement, is now going out the front door towards Sixth Street.
I understand it's been re-engineered, but I won't get into details. I just know it was, they elected not to try to use the right-of-way as the exit route, but another
All right,
methodology.
for now, I'll leave it on the agenda, and at some point in this meeting, when we get to that point, if somebody has anything to address, they can address it. Okay? So, voting on the amended agenda. Madam Clerk.
Hold on. Do we need a first and a second for an amendment, or we're just gonna
Yes, no, we need
pick
it
it off?
first. We need somebody to, I moved it.
Second.
Moved in second. Now we'll have roll call.
Okay, so the vote is to amend the agenda first.
To delete number 10 and bill number 20.
Delete number 10. Okay, hold on. Okay. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Panto? I'm sorry, Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultano?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
And Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Okay, and then the vote is to approve the amended agenda. So it would be Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
And Mr. Brown?
Aye. At this time, we'll have action on the minutes of our April 12th meeting.
So moved. Second.
Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye. At this time, we'll have the promotion of the officers and recognition of the retirement.
Good evening, everyone. Chief Carl Scalzo, City of Easton Police Department, Chief of Police, 48 North 4th Street, Easton, PA. Tonight, we're going to have one promotion, and we're going to be saying goodbye to 2 officers as they retire from the department. Before we begin, what I always like to do first is thank each and every one of you for all of your support over the years as we bring new officers on, as we promote officers, and as officers retire. Just want to always have an opportunity to say thank you to all of you for your support. Without that, we would not have been able to achieve what we have here in the city as a department. So thank you very much for that. Also to everyone for coming tonight to witness, obviously, a very important event in these officers' lives. So if I could have Sergeant Ben Masterfilippo please come forward. Ben is being promoted tonight to sergeant, and he's going to serve as the officer in charge of the C platoon within the patrol division. Sergeant Masterfilippo began his employment with the City of Easton Police Department in 2010 and has been a dedicated officer during his time with the department. Sergeant Masterfilippo has been recognized throughout his career with numerous awards and citations, including the 2015, the Kiwanis Club of Easton recognized him as the Easton Police Department's Officer of the Year. In 2017, Sergeant Masterfilippo was assigned to the Criminal Investigation Division, where he served as a criminal investigator until his promotion this year. Sergeant Masterfilippo was trained as a drug recognition officer and is currently Department Special Response Unit. He has dedicated 13 years to the law enforcement profession in the City of Easton and to the Easton Police Department. I therefore recommend he be promoted to sergeant to oversee the department's C platoon within the patrol division.
I, Benjamin James Masterfilippo,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear that I will support,
obey, and defend
the
Constitution of the United States
Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth.
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
And that I will enforce the laws of the Commonwealth
and that I will enforce the laws of this Commonwealth
and the ordinances of Easton,
and the ordinance of Easton,
and I will discharge the duties
and I will discharge the duties
of my office as sergeant
of my office as sergeant
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
I do further swear
I do further swear
that I will uphold,
that I will uphold,
obey, and enforce
obey, and enforce
the law without consideration
the law without consideration
of a person's race,
of a person's race,
color,
color,
sex,
sex,
religious creed,
religious creed,
sexual orientation,
sexual orientation,
age,
national origin,
ancestry,
ancestry,
handicap, or
handicap,
disability.
or disability.
I do further swear
I do further swear
that I do not advocate,
that I do not advocate,
nor am I knowingly a member
nor am I knowingly a member
of any organization
of any organization
that advocates the overthrow
that advocates the overthrow
of the government of the United States of America
of the government of the United States of America
or this Commonwealth.
or this Commonwealth.
Nor will I,
Nor will I,
by force or violence,
by force or violence,
deny other persons
deny other persons
their rights under the Constitution
their rights under the Constitution
of the United States and this Commonwealth.
of the United States and this Commonwealth.
I do further swear
I do further swear
that I will not so advocate,
that I will not so advocate,
nor will I knowingly become
nor will I knowingly become
a member of such organization
a member of such organization
during the time
during the time
that I'm an employee of Easton.
that I'm an employee of Easton. Thank you.
This evening is a little bittersweet for me. It's bittersweet, obviously, because even as we promote a new sergeant and as he moves forward with his career, we do have to say goodbye to two of Easton's finest officers, ones that I have worked with for my entire career. That would be Sergeant Sal Cachufo and Lieutenant Dan Regan. So I'd ask for Sergeant Cachufo, if you could please step forward. Sergeant Cachufo retired on March 2nd, 2023. He began his career in 1996 with the Easton Police Department, and throughout his 27-year career has worked hard to proudly represent the city of Easton and the Easton Police Department. Sergeant Cachufo began his career as a patrol officer and was assigned to the Criminal Investigative Division as a detective in 2005. Sergeant Cachufo was promoted to sergeant in 2009, where he worked as a first-line supervisor for almost 13 years. Sergeant Cachufo, as a dedicated officer and supervisor, always volunteered to work extra-duty assignments where needed, and often worked on weekends, holidays, and nights to ensure the safety of all citizens. During his career, Sergeant Cachufo has been awarded numerous awards and citations. He was heavily involved in the traffic and DUI enforcement and was an active member of the department's bike unit. With gratitude for 27 years of service, I present to Sergeant Cachufo this retirement plaque, which reads, presented to Sergeant Salvatore Cachufo in grateful appreciation and recognition for 26 years of service with the Easton Police Department, Easton, Pennsylvania, September 30th, 1996, March 2nd, 2020. Lieutenant Dan Regan.
Don't sign it, Chief. Don't sign it.
Lieutenant Dan Regan retired on February 1st of 2023. He began his career with the Easton Police Department in 2000 and has been an essential component of the department's success during his 22-year career. Lieutenant Regan was assigned to the department's first community policing division in 2002 and was assigned the responsibility of community engagement and nuisance enforcement in the West Ward and downtown communities. Lieutenant Regan was also a member of the department's bike unit, which he utilized to get closer to the community he served. Throughout his career, Lieutenant Regan has been recognized with numerous awards and citations, including in 2003 when the Kiwanis Club of Easton recognized him as the Easton Police Department's Officer of the Year. Lieutenant Regan was assigned to the Detective Division in 2004 as a criminal investigator. In 2007, Lieutenant Regan began investigating a cold case homicide that had gone unsolved since 1978. The victim, Virginia Morell, had been murdered in the city. However, the case went unsolved for almost 30 years. Through his diligent work on the case, he brought the case to a successful resolution and successfully charged and convicted the offender. This investigation brought much-needed closure to the families of the victim. For his work in the 2009 Morell case and his entirety in the Detective Division, Lieutenant Regan was selected to receive the Nathan Ogden Award, which is awarded through the Northampton County Chiefs of Police Association. In 2011, Lieutenant Regan was promoted to sergeant and returned to the Patrol Division as a first-line supervisor. In 2012, he returned to the Detective Division, promoted to inspector. During this time, Lieutenant Regan oversaw the Crime Division and was involved in many high-profile criminal investigations. As an inspector, Lieutenant Regan was often assigned oversight roles during high-profile and dangerous criminal raids. In 2021, Lieutenant Regan was promoted to lieutenant and assigned to the Office of Professional Standards Division. As that officer, Lieutenant Regan was responsible for adherence to policies, procedures, citizen complaints, and departmental technology. Lieutenant Regan also took over the accreditation responsibilities and helped the department through its most recent Premier Status Assessment in 2022. It is again with sincere gratitude for 22 years of service that I present Lieutenant Regan with the retirement plaque that reads, Lieutenant Daniel Regan, in grateful appreciation and recognition for 23 years of service with the Easton Police Department, Easton, Pennsylvania, March 27, 2000 to February 1st, 2020.
Let me just say that on behalf of the administration and council, we're delighted to be here tonight with both of these officers who I had the opportunity to serve with as mayor for the last 16 years, but also Sal and I go way back, and Dan, you know, you did a great job. I mean, you made our city, you're part of a team that made our city safer. I can't tell you, when I came into office, the difference between now and then, and I just want to thank both of you for your years of service. But I also want to thank your spouse. I see Mrs. Cachufo. Mother, I know it's your mother. I want to thank his spouses and you, as I see Mrs. Cachufo here, his mother. They are, and your lovely wife and and family, because it's so important that we thank them because they make the sacrifices to have their husband or sons go out every day into the city and keep us safe. And it's a tough job. And I want to thank them all, the officers that are here who came to see you tonight, but also you know that you have the men behind and women behind you of the entire department. So thank you very much for your service, and thank you for all you've done and your family has done for our city. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all.
I just like to echo what the mayor said. Both officers, surely gonna miss you. Great job. Every time I've seen you, you know, public, you're a public person, really are. And Dan, God, I didn't even know you retired. You came in quiet and you leave quiet. I don't know how that works. But I'm certainly going to miss your face, our talks at Wawa's, our coffee. You're just a tremendous officer, and your careers has been just as well. I wish you nothing but the best in your retirement. But remember, you really don't retire. You're just moving to something else. Stay well.
I just want to say thanks to all three of you for your service and for making Easton a very safe place to live, and just enjoy your retirement.
Yeah, I just thank you for your service and enjoy your retirement. Like David said, when a funny thing happens when you first retire, a lot of people call you up and the conversation always starts the same way. Hey, you're retired now, right? So that's when you need to change your number and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you. I'll just echo my colleagues' comments. Thank you for your service. Where's Sal?
We're here in front row.
Are you paying attention? Or are you just talking to somebody else? I'm over here, by the way. Thank you for your service. I do enjoy watching your photos on Facebook with your children or sports, so congratulations. Hope you guys enjoy retirement and whatever careers you guys choose after this. Thanks again.
Thank you for your service and enjoy your retirement. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank you. I know over the course of your careers, you've seen a tremendous change in the department, and I think that you can leave the department knowing that it is one of the premier departments in the entire state. And it's because of you guys that it's in that position, you know. It's an entire team network, but you guys are great contributors. And so thank you very much. And congratulations on your promotion. And good luck in the future.
Yes, we want to thank you for your promotion and your willingness to step up and lead. And your job is more important than anyone's job, or even the chief's job. Don't tell him I said so. But you're out there making sure that the men and women of your platoon are doing the job to keep our people safe, and I really appreciate that. And just to let you all know, you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting. You can At this point in our meeting, we're going to turn over to the chief and whoever is going to do the presentation on our new Crime Watch app, which is right on my phone, and we'll go through that and tell you what all the great things that you can keep an eye on, the transparency of our police department.
Sorry, did you segue right into that?
Yeah, we did.
Like the mayor said, we're just going to do a quick presentation for everybody this evening to a new software platform that we're going to be utilizing as a department to help increase transparency and get the word out, not only what the department's doing, but things that are going on around the city, whether they be events, activities, all those types of things. It also gives people an opportunity to kind of reach out to us and communicate with us.
Sure.
So Officer Mike Jeanette, who's taken over the implementation or the rollout of the program, is just going to go over a little bit what the software platform is, how it works, and how individuals or citizens can actually get connected with it.
Like you have your computer? This is what I want to watch.
All right.
Crime Watch, we implemented Crime Watch. We went live March 21st of 2023, and we joined the Crime Watch network. It's a program that is rolled out nationally, and Easton Police Department joined them. It's a way of engaging with the community through transparency of information. The information that we put out, we roll out the information, which I'll get to, of what we do and how we do that through the Crime Watch app. And it's about community safety. And by putting out information through Crime Watch, we can inform the public of events that are happening, from criminal information to community information. So whether there's block watch parties, or there's summer events for Garlic Fest, Bacon Fest, road closures, gas leaks, warrants, anything that is pertinent to the information that the neighborhood would need to know, or citizens would need to know to keep them safe, we can put out there in a timely manner and make sure that they get that information so they can stay safe. It's a very quick PowerPoint. I'll get to our, can't turn around and talk with this. I'll get to this web portal, which explains everything that is on this slide, but it's also, eastonpolice.org is the landing point for the Crime Watch portal. It's the go-to place for the public to not only get information about Easton Police, but state agencies as well. It's a one-stop link so that they don't have to search for information. Pushing information out, when we publish to Crime Watch, it pushes out to Facebook. If we have an arrest warrant for somebody, we push that out to Crime Watch, it goes to Facebook. If somebody shares that information, it goes out to Twitter, it goes out to all the other social platforms, wherever that person shares it. Now, if that person gets apprehended, we need to pull back that warrant. What Crime Watch allows us to do is, because we published it through Crime Watch, we own that content. Crime Watch is not a commercial platform. It has no advertising. It's unique for law enforcement. When we pull down that published post of the warrant, it reaches out and pulls back that post from whoever shared it on Twitter, Google. So that person, the public's right to be forgotten, is preserved. So that's one of the aspects that we have of Crime Watch. This submitting tips, registering camera systems with Easton Police Department. It's not as scary as it sounds. I'll explain that when we get to our portal page. There's a lot of content that can be used through eastonpolice.org. And the best way to find out what's going on with Easton Police Department is to follow us through eastonpolice.org. You can follow us a number of ways. You can click follow on the portal's website and sign up for daily or weekly emails of the content that we push out. There's also a free application, as you're on his phone, which you'll get the notification badges if we put out content. If there's an emergency road closure on Route 22, for example, it'll show up immediately on your phone, and you'll be able to make arrangements to avoid that area. eastonpolice.org is our new website, and I'll go down through some of these tabs about us. We have our chief's message, the department's history for crime statistics broken down from 1970 to 2010, and then 20 and 21 are on there. A history of our department and a staff roster. If you need to contact somebody, they have their emails and phone numbers there as well. Now, scrolling down is our news feed of what we publish. Today's Happy Administrative Professionals Day, so we put a post out to Betty Denker, our administrative professional, thanking her for her service and dedication to the department. And under the crime tab is a breakdown of arrests, cases, incident blotters, most wanted, news posts, and warrants. And you can also further sort that by the news feed. So if you don't want to see everything at once, you can just click on a specific type of information that you want, and you can click on warrants, and then it would show the warrants we have. And now I'm not connected. Does anybody know why that happened?
Dustin's in the back.
There we go. Okay. Oh. All right. Other things that it can do, submitting a tip. You can submit a tip right through, if you see a post on Facebook that we put out, you can submit a tip right through there. You don't have to leave your social media feed. But you can also come to the portal and submit a tip. You could be anonymous. If you want to leave your name, you can. And what that does is, in addition to the information that you're submitting a tip about, you have the ability to upload photos or videos to share with us if it'll help what you want us to know. If you see something, you can let us know about it, submit a little video or a photo, and it'll get to that right person that would do the investigation. There's a lot of things, the camera registry that I mentioned. All right, well, I'll just tell you about it. The camera registry, it goes back to vacation one sec. Easton Police Department does have a service. If you go on vacation, we will monitor your house while you're away and keep tabs on it to make sure that it stays secure, and you can submit that form through here. The camera registry. We don't have access to your cameras. We don't want access to your cameras. What this is if you have a camera system, whether it's a Ring, ADT, Radio Shack, it could be motion activated, it could be static, you can let us know that you have that, and you can put a point of contact person in that field. And it could work for businesses too, if you want to put your business manager there. What that does is if there's an incident in that neighborhood, the detectives or the officers can go into our list and see, oh, I see there's a camera half a block away. And they can reach out to that person that's listed as the point of contact. And from there, that person, we can ask, hey, can you, on this date and time, can you please review your camera footage to see if there was anything relevant to the investigation? It speeds up the investigation from an officer knocking on door to door. Hey, I see a camera, does it work? I left my card, did they call me back? No, they didn't. I gotta reach them. So the quicker we reach out and can get information, the quicker we can apprehend the people that we're looking for or solve the incident. So that is what the camera registry is. Completely voluntary, but it is there. We also have an alarm registry for burglar alarms, if you want to register your burglar alarms, or even medical pendants, medical alarms. You can register that with us too, and an emergency contact. So if one goes off and we don't get an answer, we need a point of contact and our dispatch doesn't have one listed, we can go into this and say, okay, this is the emergency contact if we ever get this medical pendant alarm activation. You can request extra police patrols. There's Handle with Care registry. If a child is exposed to a traumatic incident, whether it be a drug overdose in the house or a bad domestic, or gosh forbid one of their loved ones was arrested, you can let us know, and we will submit that information to their school, and that lets the school know, hey, this child is processing something right now. They may not be on point for the lessons or what you're trying to teach. Just handle them with care, know that there's something else going on, and that lets the school know. If you need a police report, you don't have to come down to the lobby. You can fill out this information here. There's verification or reporting. You can request an incident report right from here. This saves a bunch of trips to the lobby. For example, for services, we have our block party application, dumpster permit applications. If you need a meter bagged, parking ticket appeal protocol is on there. If you want to know about snow emergency routes, that's on there too. And our city ordinances. I mentioned outside resources before. Outside resources, you have the Pennsylvania State Police's website, pa.gov is on there. Lost and found dogs, if you lost your dog or you found a dog, and information about FTC or the emergency squad. So there's a lot of resources here, and we put this information out, and we're going to be pushing information out to aid in the transparency between us and the public, because through partnership with the community, that's how we keep everybody safe and make a better community, and that's what this is for.
So basically, that's rolled out now for all the citizens. We're going to be doing a push to try to get people to log on. So you're going to be seeing some things come out, mailers and things like that, that are just going to help you identify where to find this at, where to find us. And then once you get on, it's obviously pretty self-explanatory about searching through it. One other thing for transparency is we are doing a weekly blotter. So you'll be able to actually look to see the things that we're handling all throughout the city over the course of a weekly period of time. So you'll see all the calls that the department's handling. So you have a better idea of what's going on, not only in your neighborhood, but in the community as a whole. Any questions at all for Officer Jeanette or myself?
I have a,
Go ahead.
just a quick question. Who owns the copyrights of the software, actually, not the app?
Crime Watch is actually a private company that works with police departments throughout the area. So it's actually a software that we purchased through Crime Watch. And then this kind of platform that you see is universal. Like Forks Township has it, Palmer Township has it, other departments have it. And then we share information as well. So if you were to see somebody with a warrant, you may see one that Palmer Township has out as well. So we get the information out there so people know. But it's a private or proprietary software that we purchase, and we pay a yearly fee to have as our software platform.
Thank you.
Right. One of the things we're doing with this as well that we didn't mention is we're going to have portals, like screens in the lobby here and in the lobby in the police department that's also going to cycle through a lot of this information. So when visitors come to City Hall or come to the police station, they'll be able to see a lot of the information we're putting out cycling through those as well.
On the cameras, is there a way to determine if a camera's already been reported or not, or should?
Well, the cameras are privately owned cameras that we're looking for. So
Yeah.
basically, when they come in, it's that information doesn't go out. So like your neighbors won't know who's got Ring doorbells. That only goes for us. So it's basically something that only our officers and detectives are going to be able to utilize. So when you report your camera system to us, and if anybody has a Radio Shack camera, I'd love to see that.
Showing your age.
But anyway, so that comes to us. That goes in. That just goes in, and it's a map. It's a map basically that shows where every LPR city camera and then every private camera is in the city, which helps. Like Officer Jeanette said, it expedites our investigation. Where we have an incident here, we can now look on that map to see where the cameras and other resources for us are. So that's the importance of registering them with us. But no one. It's not like public information. You can't go on and see who's got cameras in the city or anything like that. Only we can see that. And then we house that information, and it's private information with us on the system. Yep. We actually do sometimes. It just depends on the company and who runs those companies, and then their feelings as far as sharing information with police. So it really just comes down to personal preference. So we have had some companies where we've had incidents, and we know they have cameras, and they wouldn't give them to us without saying any company names. But we have had that happen, unfortunately. But most businesses want that level of security and have their cameras there for a reason, and that is to help us prevent criminal activity as a deterrent, and cameras can do that when we can apprehend or hold accountable those individuals who commit crime.
Any other questions from council? Public?
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank you,
very cool.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Chief,
Thank
can I
It's
get a
very
copy?
cool
Chief,
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
can I get a copy of the,
Of the
Yeah,
PowerPoint?
that's it.
I don't
Yeah,
have that
I
on, me,
couldn't-
but I'll get that to you.
that's
Yep.
fine. I couldn't think of the name. Thank you.
This time I'll introduce the West Ward Choice Neighborhood Grant Team. Adam, are you going to handle it?
Yes, I am.
Okay. We also have other members of the committee in the audience as well as up here on council. This is a Choice Neighborhood Grant is the new grant that we did. You may remember the Hope 6, it was called back then, where we were able to take transform Delaware Terrace into Neston Heights. This would do the same thing in the West Ward public housing units as well as additional housing.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mayor, for the introduction. My name is Adam Rosa. I'm with Collabo Planning. We are the planning coordinators for the Choice Neighborhood, the West Ward Choice Neighborhood Plan. And just to give you all a little background, this started about 4 years ago when we were putting together the West Ward, the original West Ward Neighborhood Plan. One of the strategies in that document was consider revitalizing, consider applying for choice neighborhoods related to the Easton Housing Authority properties. So we were one of 9 communities nationwide in 2020 to be awarded this $500,000 planning grant from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. So over the last 2 years, we've been developing this plan, putting all the pieces in place. And so tonight, I'm just going to show you kind of the highlights of this effort. The plan was submitted about 2 months ago to our HUD team, and they've formally approved it. And so now we're moving towards implementation. So the core goals of Choice Neighborhoods are focused on people, housing, and neighborhood. So our neighborhood is defined as the West Ward. The housing are the 3 Easton Housing Authority properties within the neighborhood. And then the people element are the supportive services that are really intended to improve the lives of local residents. So as mentioned, the neighborhood we defined was from 6th Street all the way to 15th Street. And it included the 2 Housing Authority properties in the northern part of the neighborhood, which is North Union Street and the Butchkill House, and the Elm Street apartments, which are down south of Butler. So those are essentially our target housing sites for this effort. We developed a series of principles and themes focused on housing and business, transportation, open space, all the way through to arts, culture, and history. And each of these themes were supported by working groups that met and developed the projects that we'll see in the plan. So over the 2-year planning process, we started with listening and learning. We got into visioning for the future, developed the strategies. We now have our people, housing, and neighborhood elements, and we've submitted the final plan to HUD. So our next step in this project, which I'll tell you a little bit more about, is taking this plan and applying for what's called an implementation grant, which can be somewhere in the ballpark of $40 million to realize the vision of the community to make this all happen. This is a bottom-up community-led process. We had 3 community ambassadors, which are residents of the Housing Authority properties and the West Ward. We had our advisory committee, which included the mayor and some of the council members here today. We had those working groups. We conducted interviews, larger community meetings. We have a project website. We had social media, a lot of different ways to get out and really gather information from the community. And where we are today, this is a summary of the plan in its entirety. So we have our housing element, which includes 5 different pieces. It includes looking at the former Easton home property, and I'll tell you a little bit more about each of these as we go forward. It includes revitalization of the Bushkill House, the North Union Street apartments, the Elm Street apartments, as well as a single-family infill strategy to bring more home ownership opportunities to the West Ward. Then we have our neighborhood element that includes a list of 14 different physical improvements to the West Ward as a whole. Along with that, we have 14 people projects that are organized around education, health, and income and employment. As part of the grant, we were able to utilize $150,000 of that 500 for an early action project, which is taking shape currently. And that's going to be gateway features into the neighborhood. The first one will be somewhere on Northampton and 6th Street, and that's all in progress right now. The second one will either be on the western edge of the neighborhood at the city limit or near Paxenosa Elementary School in Cottingham Stadium. So we're evaluating the location of that with PennDOT and thinking through their approval process. But we really wanted to create something that would signify the importance of the neighborhood and really try to continue to bolster and improve local perception. We conducted a very deep surveying effort of all the Housing Authority residents. And I believe we got about 100% of the households of those 3 properties to participate. And that looked at everything from household needs to what they thought the neighborhood needs were, to some really specific questions about their job skills and their health conditions and things like that. And those were all really the baseline metrics that we used to then create the strategies. So the people plan has 4 education strategies that we're going to continue to move towards and build on. We have a early childhood education program, including the Be Ready mobile outreach pilot program. We have a youth mentorship program and career development initiative. And we have a project that looks at really working hand in hand with Easton High School to improve outcomes at the school and helping them implement their improvement plan. For health, a key focus was expanding free and low-cost mental health services. We want to enhance Easton Garden Works and the great programs that they have in the neighborhood. The West Ward Market has been very successful in its first year, and we're excited about how that could continue to grow as a neighborhood hub for service. We have a lot of seniors that live in our units, so we need senior fitness programs. So we're focused on that. And then there's already an application in for a Safe Routes to School and bicycle mentorship program. So some of these strategies are already moving forward into implementation. For the income and employment, expanding access to language, family self-sufficiency program, the Overtown Media and Arts Center, which was a program that's been developed by local residents to bring digital media to local youth in the West Ward. We want to have more multicultural festivals to represent the diversity of the community, and then a workforce development center. So that is a summary of our people plan. As mentioned, the housing plan looks at the redevelopment of the 3 Easton Housing Authority properties, which in total include 160 units of public housing. We have a overall goal and principle of 1-for-1 replacement of the very low income units. But with choice neighborhoods, you do it in a mixed income setting. So we're trying to create not only those replacement units, but additional affordable housing opportunities all the way up to market rate housing. So as part of this process, we brought on board a developer partner through a partnership agreement with the Housing Authority, and that's the Michaels organization, who has a long history of seeing successful outcomes through choice neighborhoods and other HUD programs. So the Michaels organization has been involved in 4 recent choice implementation grants. The city of Camden, the city of Tulsa, Los Angeles, and then a second grant in Camden. And you can see the dollar amounts that they were able to acquire through those applications. This is just an example of the quality of architecture and design that they bring to the table and that they are going to be helping to realize in the West Ward. So starting with the Easton home site, some of you may have seen in the news over the last few months that facility which is a senior assisted living facility, was closing. So we had been in partnership and conversations with them for a couple years about how they could kind of fold into this overall planning effort. So as that happened, we were able to work with the Presbyterian to essentially put in an offer and acquire the Easton Home property as a key ingredient for the larger plan. So this is what the Easton Home looks like today. You all know the historic building on Northampton Street, and then there are two wings of it that were built somewhere in the mid-century period. So we are looking at a few different potential options for the Easton Home. But what it allows us to do is have a build-first strategy where we can create a development at Easton Home and then begin to relocate residents from North Union Street and or the Bushkill House to this property before any demo happens on the Housing Authority sites. So we're looking at a number of options of different densities and ranges, but each of the options preserves the 3-story historic building at the center and creates creates different housing opportunities along Northampton Street and 10th Street and Pine Street. So the first option shows 52 units in total. The second option is 51, but fewer townhomes and more flats. And then the third option has about 83 units, including potentially a senior building. So as we go into the summer and into the fall, we're going to continue to refine this and land on a preferred option for the Easton Home based on the needs of the residents in the Housing Authority. The North Union Apartments site is on between Pearl and Northampton, off of Locust, and includes the triangle on Prospect Avenue as well. So you can see the existing layout of the buildings and some of the topography of the site. Right across the street is the Bushkill House, which is a senior and disabled building for low-income residents. So we've kind of looked at these in tandem in terms of the potential improvement and redevelopment potential. So the plan that the community helped to develop for these two properties looks something like this. So starting at the north with the Bushkill House, we have a larger facility that stretches all the way to 17th Street on the west and includes 92 dwelling units. So it's about double what's currently there today. At the North Union Street property, you can see that the site layout has changed quite a bit. We've kind of gone away from the previous barrack style design into a townhouse format that fits the character of the West Ward. So you can see the townhouses in this area with parking to the center and a larger mixed use building up on Northampton Street, which could include retail on the ground floor or services with apartments above. The triangle where they're currently housing units, we want to turn into an open space for the neighborhood. We know the West Ward really lacks park space, especially in this portion of the neighborhood. So the vision for the triangle would include ball courts, open space, playground, and potentially a clubhouse or a community building that would be open to not only the residents of this property, but the neighborhood as a whole. So this is just a conceptual rendering of what the Northampton Street side could look like. So we're thinking about a 4-story building with the retail or service use on the ground floor with high quality apartments above. This is a view of the Bushkill House. And you can see the larger building footprint that steps down as the site kind of comes down the hill, with significant open space and gathering places for the seniors to enjoy. So at the southern end of the neighborhood, we have the Elm Street apartments, which include a number of smaller buildings that you can see here today, as well as 2 larger apartment buildings. So working with the community, we developed a vision for the future of Elm Street that includes a number of new amenities, including a public promenade or overlook space that would look over the Lehigh River, open space for residents to enjoy, a playground space, and a new park or plaza up at 10th and Butler Street that would be kind of a gathering place for the neighborhood. Currently in the plan, we have one larger apartment building along with townhouses. And twins or duplexes. North Elm Street would be kind of reconfigured to create a new roadway that would go lower into the site to be able to get buildings on both sides. So this is just an aerial view of what that could look and feel like. This is the plaza that I mentioned up front with the larger apartment building that could have services or retail on the ground floor. So really a pretty dramatic change from what's there today in terms of the quality of the buildings and the architecture and the open spaces. So again, these are just a few built examples from Michael's, who's our development partner, and other choice neighborhoods. So we have more traditional styles up to what could be a little bit more modern in certain areas. But one of the real key features is the amenity spaces within those buildings. So we want to have open spaces for residents to gather, fitness center, lounge areas, those community type spaces that are currently lacking on all of the properties. So moving and implementation, the way this all works is, again, to promote the idea of mixed income development. And so we are going to be applying for the Choice Neighborhoods Implementation Grant, the application will likely begin at the end of this year and roll into 2024. But what we would like to do in terms of putting that grant together is have at least 50% of the units be non-replacement housing. So essentially, we're taking the 160 units that we have today and doubling that, or potentially even a little bit more. And we get points for the mix of unit incomes that we can have in the property. We've done a market study that says that there is adequate demand at all of these income ranges over the next 5 years. The market study says that 410 units of new housing could be supplied in the West Ward on top of the 160 public housing units. So the demand is there. And a lot of that is based on all of the improvements that are happening in the downtown and other parts of Easton. So we know that the Easton Housing Authority sites can fit about 300 units, which is why it was so important for us to look for an off-site location, which the Easton home is. So we want to have a total maximum program of around 360, give or take. We're still refining and massaging that, but we're thinking about 360 apartment units, in addition, home ownership opportunities. So the home ownership units that were, if developed with the funds from HUD, would need to be sold to families earning up to 120% of the area median income. So maintaining affordability. So we believe that we're going to be able to apply for $40 million based on last year's notice of funding. That may change in this upcoming cycle, but looking at where we are today, because we're replacing less than 250 public housing units, we're right in that 40 million range. Of that 40 million, we anticipate putting about $5 million towards those people projects. So the education, the mental health, the supportive services. We want to put around $4 million towards those neighborhood improvements, the connections, the parks, the open spaces, the safety improvements. And approximately 30 to 31 million would go towards housing. It's a highly competitive grant. There will be many cities that are going after this. The overall program is, the program for the overall development is much larger than the $40 million. So we're looking at somewhere in the range of $143 million of investment in the West Ward if we're able to see this plan through into implementation. So our developer has started to identify other sources of funding to make this a reality on top of the potential Choice Neighborhoods funding. So our next steps in the process, as I mentioned, the community gateways are underway, and you'll probably see those take flight this summer. The Easton home purchase is being finalized, and all of the ink is drying on that arrangement. And then that Choice Neighborhoods Implementation Grant application, we're expecting to start on it in October of this year, and it will likely be due around January of 2024. You never know if it may come out a little earlier or a little later, but that's what we're forecasting. We've already started to prepare and plan for that submittal, and we've been working with the city, who will be a co-applicant in that process, along with the Housing Authority and other partners, to make sure that we're set up for success. So just wanted to thank you all for being a part of this process. Thank you for the community, for their input in making this plan a true vision for the future of the West Ward. And we're really excited to see it take shape over the next few years. Thank you very much,
Questions?
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown?
First of all, thank you for your vision. I'm very excited about this, being that I've seen what Hope 6 did for the Delaware Terrace, and as a person who lives in Delaware Terrace and transferred over to Union Street, Church Street area, 641 was my house for up until the time I was 21, 22. So to see that transformation, I'm looking so forward to that. The only thing that I wanted to know also was that during that period of time, the transition or displacement, your vision is to put them in the Easton home during that time so that you're lessen that load, and will they have an opportunity to come back once they are built?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the idea is that we can build first at Easton Home, shift some of the residents from one of the existing sites into Easton Home temporarily while we build that section out, and then they can return
That's great.
if they're in good standing with the Housing Authority.
And I like that mix. I think that worked very well with the Hope 6. As you can see, crime is down over there. People are taking pride in their properties over there. So this is a good fit for the West Ward.
Thank you. Yes.
David.
Thank you, Adam. As you know, I'm a member of the Choice Neighborhoods Committee, but I just want to thank you for all the work you've done. But I especially want to thank you and everybody in the West Ward who was involved in this project. I mean, you got ideas from all of the people as to what they wanted and what was needed, and residents actually conducted the surveys to get ideas from people about what they wanted and what was necessary. And I think that's going to be a big part of the success of this, is just getting the residents involved. I mean, I think it was just a great idea, and it was carried through very expertly too. I'm really proud of all the work that's been done so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connell. I also want to recognize the Greater Easton Development Partnership, who are the lead applicant on this planning grant. They're going to remain a partner as we move into implementation. We also are not going to stop the community engagement. It may actually ramp up as we move towards realizing this vision, because we want to make sure that everybody understands what's coming and that their voices are heard as we continue to move this plan forward.
GEDP is a very big part of this, and I should have mentioned that myself, but I'm just very happy. I think this has been a great collaboration so far.
Thank you.
As part of my remarks, I wanted to thank GDP and the Housing Authority of the City of Easton, because that has been really, with the city and with your group, it's been a long haul to get to this point. But we getting that planning grant was very important. That $500,000 was really helped us, because it also brought Secretary of HUD Marsha Fudge here, and so she was able to see this. I mean and she remembers that. I just spoke to her a few months ago, and she remembers coming here. Matter of fact, I don't have her cufflinks on, but she gave me a pair of cufflinks that have the U.S. seal on it. But I think as a product of Delaware Terrace, and as a former school teacher, I say this often, and I see Ken is also a teacher. You don't stigmatize kids. They came from Delaware Terrace. I came from Delaware Terrace. I was stigmatized. I must be poor or I'm stupid. And I could tell you that there were teachers when I was teaching that felt that way.
Yes, they did.
That eliminates it. I love the mixed income residency, because I think that's really important. Now, when they come from whatever the new name is, Neston Heights, they don't know whether I'm a subsidized house person or an owner occupied.
Right.
And or a senior citizen. My dad lives there. I mean, my dad was where we went full circle, and the cycle of life. But I want to say that this takes a long time. When I got in office with the Hope 6 project, we had lost it because we weren't keeping up. We weren't ramping up the transiency and the transparency. The one thing that we wanted to do is, I get this a lot of time, that we move the people from Delaware Terrace into West Ward. That's why they probably. I know, Tyler, that your predecessor kept very accurate records of where people who moved out moved to, and a third of them stayed on South Side, a third of them went in West Ward, and a third of them moved out of the area completely. Mm-hmm. So I think that's important that we keep that, because I don't want people in the other parts of the community saying, "Oh, they displaced all the West Ward residents where all the crime is," and we don't have. I mean, the crime is so low now; it's really great. And I think it's a good opportunity. We have families moving back into the West Ward. I think it's a good opportunity to do this and get rid of those barracks. I mean, I lived in an Army barrack. I don't know how my brother and I lived in a 10 by 10 bedroom, but we did. And I just say that all the people, and I see some of the partners here tonight, really, it is very much appreciated, because this isn't a top-down project. This is a bottom-up. And I've been to your surveying and focus groups, and the people are just really excited. When I see residents coming out and putting their thoughts down at the West Ward Market last year, I mean, that's really good. So I appreciate the efforts that your company did.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Artie.
Yeah, so the at the North Union Street property, we'd like to create a park on that triangle parcel with Prospect Street on one side, and have that park be open to the neighborhood.
That probably has about 20 units right now, right? Huh?
Yeah, it probably does. There will be open space there as well. That could be public, or it could be for the residents. We're not sure how that'll play out. But
Yeah, about that.
Vanderveer Park is another site that's in the neighborhood plan for improvements. We had originally looked at it for the early action project, but based on the construction timelines, we weren't able to utilize this funding for that improvement. But that's still in progress, and we're hoping that investment will still take shape. And it's important because those types of investments are what's known as leverage for this next grant. We have to be able to show housing, people, and neighborhood leverage. So when the city goes in and improves a park like that, it costs several $1 million. We can count that towards this next grant that we're hoping to win from HUD.
Any other questions, comments? Anyone from the public? Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank you, Adam.
I hope you make your 5:30 flight tomorrow morning.
I hope so too.
AM.
Yeah.
Okay, at this time there's no presentation on the Center Square Hotel at this point, but there's public comment on agenda items only. Anybody have anything that they'd like to comments or questions about agenda items? If there is a time at the end of the meeting for you to comment on anything, any comments, concerns, or questions about the city of Easton. But I want to thank Jared for your comments last night. The presentation was excellent, and for your help on this grant. This is really important. The partnership with GDP is really very important to the city. Obviously, some people don't realize how important it is, but it is really important. And this is one good reason, and I can't wait for the arch to go up. And no one in the city? Okay, we'll move on to consent agenda items, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Under the consent agenda, we have bill number 18 that was previously introduced, which would amend Chapter 54, the Ethics Code of the City of Easton. We also have a resolution approving a COA for 60 North 4th Street, a COA for 42 South 3rd Street, a COA for 233-235 Northampton Street, a COA for 118 Northampton Street, and a COA for 1-6 Center Square. We also have a resolution approving a third handicap parking space in the 1000 block of West Wilkes-Barre Street, and a resolution that would approve a cooperation agreement with the Easton Area Neighborhood Center.
I move the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell,
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles,
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana,
Aye.
and Mayor Panto.
Aye. I'll receive the reports from the council for fire department, March report, and we'll move right on to committee reports, finance committee, Vice Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. This evening, I don't really have a report. I just want to report to the public, though, that we did meet last night, the Finance Committee, and we went over a year to date for March under the general fund revenue and also the expenditures. Also, there was some questions for Mark last night. I don't know if you got emails on that, Mark, but I know there was some questions asked last night. I'll give it to you at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I apologize. I did not get an opportunity to get the answers for the questions that were asked yesterday, but I will get those out in the next day or two.
Thank
that
you.
out to council.
Any other questions for him right now? If not, Mayor, that's all I have.
All right, I just want to go back to, I apologize. I thought the ethics code we were voting on was for the training, but that's already passed. Mr. Kingsley, the administration is voting, wants to vote against this conflict of interest because we've already made it available. I really find it difficult the conflict of interest for the city employee getting a grant like the facade improvement grant is zero. They don't sit on this council, they don't make a decision. Elected officials are exempted and directors are exempted, right? So the
Correct.
only thing that wasn't exempted was the, anybody from a director below. Oh, I'm sorry I voted that way. I just apologize for voting that way because I thought that was the one about the training, and that, to me, there's very, very few city employees that still live in the city. And that's unfortunate that they are now being told that they can't apply for the facade grant. How many do we have for the facade grant, Sean?
So we had 146 currently. We have 5.
No, how many city employees?
Oh,
4. Do they have any role in the decision-making process?
They do not. It is representatives from the Public Works Department, Police Department.
No.
Well, I mean, can I just comment, Mayor, if you don't mind?
Sure.
I mean,
Sure, Bill.
my amendment was only about authorities, boards, and commissions. Just for clarity, I mean, we voted on this. I just want to make sure that my amendment was only to include members of authorities, boards, and commissions. Not, I mean, it already read, no employee of the city of Easton shall get this. So, I mean, unless I'm reading this wrong. But I just think it's, I mean, if we're gonna have ethics, we should have ethics for everybody then. But we did vote on it though, just for clarity.
Ethics deal with people who make decisions on money, taxpayers' money, not on people who don't have no input
Well,
on it.
I mean, but it already read that though. It already
No.
read that we are exempting people who are employees. So, but we did vote on it though.
We'll talk about this. Thank you. Okay, moving on. I'm sorry. Apologize, Madam Clerk. We'll move on to Economic Development Committee. Councilmember O'Connell.
Mayor, the Vacant Property Review Committee met this afternoon and recommended 4 properties for blight certification.
Good job. Thank you. Anything else?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's it.
Planning and Codes Committee, Councilmember Sultana.
I'm making a few changes to Bill number 19, creating a new chapter, Animal of the Code of the City of Easton, and reintroducing the bill. That's all.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I'm making a few changes to the Bill number 19. Oh, I already sent it to you. So we are reintroducing the bill today, right?
Yes, and that included
All the changes and everything.
whatever we talked about last week.
Yes,
So whatever you got in the packet is exactly
It's in
what
exactly
you
what
said
it-
was correct.
yes,
And that included guinea pigs.
yes.
Is that the last change?
That's the last change.
So it should be in your packet. And it started out as a whole new bill.
Right, but am I reintroducing today?
Yes, when we
Right.
get to that point.
Yeah. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Madam Councilmember Sultana. Also, next, Councilmember Ruggles, Public Safety Committee.
Thank you. I don't have anything on public safety, but I do want to invite everybody to the community breakfast that will be held on Saturday, this Saturday, from 9 to 11, right over here at St. John's Church, 4th and Ferry. Everybody is welcome. The whole idea is to come and have breakfast with your neighbor. Okay, so we're hoping to have a good turnout and bring your friends.
Okay, Councilman Eddinger, Public Works.
I have no report tonight, Mayor.
Councilman Milan, Administration.
I have no report, Mayor.
Report of City Solicitors, Councilmember Shear.
Yes, I do want to report what you've already probably read in the very few newspaper accounts, the trial where the Easton police officers who were sued for alleged wrongdoing were found to be completely cleared by a jury. I was following along with our council gave us updates, and I think that a lot of credit has to be recognized. We already recognized police officers earlier tonight, but in following what happened there, this case was won. I mean, it never should have been filed against them, but the verdict came out the way it did because our police department has become as professional as it is, and the use of things like body cameras reflect what actually is happening versus what someone may allege is happening. So I wanted to share that from a legal perspective, my admiration for the effort that the police department has made to give the attorney a good case to work with, because you can't do anything unless you have the facts, and the facts were such that this case never should have been brought, and the jury, I won't say acquitted because it wasn't a criminal case, but the jury found unanimously that there was no liability or culpability with respect to how the police behaved themselves in that incident. And I have no other report.
And the city was being sued for $2.5 million.
Who is?
The suit was, that lawsuit was $2.5 million.
Oh, okay. It could have just as easily been $5 million for the way they put numbers on.
Well,
But it was no. There was exposure. This is one of those cases where you've talked about in the past that you're not going to just fold and settle, and there were lots of efforts on the other side to try to push that, but we had a good case and took it to the verdict. So anyway,
the jury was not very long, were they?
less than 3 hours, which after 4 days, that's pretty quick. Actually, I think, definitely less than 3 hours, about 2 hours.
It?
We have an eyewitness here. So that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Until he mentions we need more benches for the center square then. Until Artie tells us we need more benches for center square.
Okay, moving right along, we'll go to my report. I just want to mention that the masquerade ball on Saturday night was a huge success. I saw several of the council members there, Mr. O'Connell, Mr. Brown, and Mrs. Sultana. I see.
You thought you were there.
I thought you were there.
You had a different mask on.
Oh, okay. Well, it's hard to tell who was there with the mask. And Ken did a great job with the Jeremy Joseph was given the award. I think that was a great selection. The Big Easy Brass Band has done a great job.
Oh, yeah.
They've never charged the city a dime, and they've always volunteered their time. And it was a good time. And the money raised will be put back to city projects like the lighting of the trees in Center Square and going up Southside Hill. We also have 3 neighborhood festivals coming up this weekend, starting this Saturday. We have it'll be at the Centennial Park. We have clowns and face painting and live entertainment. Johnny's Jukebox is playing. Just want to invite everybody out to that as well. We have free food, pizza, hot dogs, and so it'll be a long day of cooking for me.
Yeah, you'll be able to eat all day.
You'll be able to eat all day, yeah. Well, my wife wanted to see more of me, so I gained 20 pounds. Anyway, they also want to mention that now that COVID is officially in a rearview mirror, we will be bringing movies in the park back. The movies that we'll show will be things like G-rated, like Super Mario Brothers, DC League of Super Pets, because most of our kids who attend are under 8 years old, and we cancel because of COVID because obviously we get a good crowd at these things. But we're also going to look at Top Gun Maverick or something a little bit more for the adults, but not a lot of language in it. Also, we're bringing back cruise nights and in June, July, and August at least. For now, we announced June will have Joyous be the band. July will be A Few Good Men, and August will be Time Wise, who opened up for the Circle last year. So we're looking forward to that. The Easton Homecoming Concert, something I'm really looking forward to, is on Saturday, May 13th. We open up the big season with two Broadway stars that grew up in Easton. Dee Rossioli will be the headliner, and before her will be Carmen John. Carmen John Basha was a gentleman who grew up on South Side. I knew his family. His dad was a longtime employee of the city of Easton, John Basha, and he plays all over. He opens up for people like Engelbert Humperdinck and all that. I know many of you young people don't know who Engelbert Humperdinck is, but he was a heartthrob back in the day, and they'll be opening that up. And we're also, Liz Russo we're bringing back Comedy Fest. If you haven't been to Comedy Fest, it actually is. It's down at the amphitheater on the waterfront, and it is really good. She'll bring in two comedians that have been on late night TV. And she'll open up an MC and she'll talk about herself and growing up in Easton and everything. But we're looking forward to that. And the big announcement this week was the Moose is going to be taking over the fireworks at Heritage Day, and we'll be moving them from down at the riverfront up to Hackett Park for a number of reasons. Mostly because for 5-6 years I've been trying to get them moved. I don't, as a historian and a history teacher, I love Heritage Day. I think the history of Heritage Day is really great. But they got to close everything down by 4 o'clock to move everything down on the drive, and the drive is just one big carnival. So we're doing it, and people, the press wants to love to say it's because of the shooting last year. That had an impact. There's no doubt about it. I got the committee to agree that we should move them, and we're going to move them up to Hackett Park where we did have them for 3 years when there was no Heritage Day, when the VFW stopped sponsoring fireworks. The JCs did them, and I was one of the chairmen, and we did them up at Hackett Park, and everybody liked them because you're going from the highest point in the city, from the lowest point to the highest point. So the people that can see them is unbelievable. I mean, you can see them from the high school, from Palmer Township, College Hill, the courthouse in the West Ward. You'll be able to see them. So you don't have to come downtown to see them. You can stay right at home, maybe have a picnic or something, and enjoy it there. So we're looking forward to that. And the last thing I want to remind council, I did remind you last night, I just want to remind you that our meeting on May 10th is not here. It is up at College Hill Presbyterian Church, and we enter off of the red doors on Monroe Street. So,
Mayor, also on last year we had it, if anybody needed handicap assistance, they were going to call your office,
right,
correct?
they're going to call my office.
Okay, so that'll still be on the notice.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, moving on then to the city administrator.
Mayor, I have 2 items for my report. The first one is stemmed from Dr. Ruggles requesting an update on our rec department summer programming. So I'm going to call up Kevin McCarthy to give that abbreviated update. It's a few slides, but it'll go quick. And then I'm going to call John Kingsley up in a second.
And thanks for coming up to the AAU Saints basketball game yesterday. It was great.
Yeah, it was a great event.
It was really great event. I like the Saints uniforms, by the way. Just to let you know, I'm just putting a word in for our uniforms. The Saints uniforms are really nice.
Was he refereeing? I just want to know.
No.
Okay.
We had
2 city employees.
We had 2 city employees refereeing.
Marcus?
Marcus and Gary.
And Gary,
DiCarlo.
Gary, yeah. 2 good officials.
I'll tell them you said so.
Oh, you know.
Can help you, Sean? Anything for you, Kevin?
Working his way up.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Marcus does a good job. He does football too.
Mm-hmm. He quit for a year. I talked to him this year.
Oh, really?
I tried to retire.
Why? Well, they need referees.
I don't want to travel that cheap.
Oh.
I don't need to go 7 miles one way, one work night.
Yeah, that's a lot.
They're going to cut my schedule.
Dustin's coming.
See you, Tom. Dustin, they need your assistance, your expertise. Oh, there we go.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and
Members of the city council, thanks to Sean for that assist. I appreciate that for a sports word. Thanks for an opportunity just to come this evening and share with you some of the good things that are happening in Parks and Recreation. As Lewis said, I have a very short PowerPoint presentation. Bedrock for recreation in this community for many years has been our youth sports program, and we continue to place a great deal of emphasis on that. We're off and running for the spring season as we convene tonight. We have a baseball team playing up at Hackett, depending on weather, and one of our softball teams is over at Heil starting their season. In addition to that, we have a number of other programs that are occurring, but just to give you some numbers to tell you that we are strong, we have, right now, we have 149 soccer players in a non-traditional season. We normally play that in the fall, but there's such a demand for that. We have 149 participating. We have 90 baseball players, and we have 50 softball players. Currently, we're registering for football. We do it early. Last year, we had 125 football players, and we are currently registering for, excuse me, our cheer program. And to date, we have 69 individuals signed up for cheer. So we have some real strong numbers. This year, you'll see up here in the PowerPoint, we started a new model, a new initiative. It's sort of a pilot program. We've added a club sports dimension to our program. It is a program that we're asking for a little bit more of a commitment, and also it's a tad more competitive. As the mayor spoke, we have 4 basketball teams and 4 volleyball teams. Probably one of the highlights was last night. It was Community Day up at Lafayette College. We were able to secure the basketball arena, the main court. The mayor was there, the new basketball court from Lafayette, and we had 2 of our teams playing, one of them against the Easton Area Community Center. It was a nice crowd in attendance, and it was a nice event. So we tend to look at our traditional recreation, but I think we have to, in the future, start to look at a new model. In addition to the youth sports, during my tenure the last 4 years, we've developed a lot of special events. They're one-day events, like one thing that I did not illustrate up here was the Easter egg hunt.
Oh, yeah.
That was interesting this year.
did
For
a
the
great
first time,
job.
we put on 3 of those.
Yes.
One at 10 o'clock in the morning at Nevin with over 450 kids present.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
massive.
Then we shifted to the south side, which we projected would be smaller, and we ended up with over 400 participants there. And then we ended up at Cottingham, and I think we broke all sorts of records. Last year, we had about 120 kids. The year before, post-COVID, we had 67. This year, we had over 500 participants. This is the kids, and then there are parents and relatives there also. So we sponsored those things. Along with, as you can see up there, we have a First Tee PGA program that we received a grant from 3 years ago. We kicked that off at Heil Park, and then we transitioned up to Riverview Golf Course. They've been good partners with. We have a Sterner Arts Trail run in the fall that we co-op with the Police Athletic League that is seeing a resurgence now this year, post-COVID. And then we have other events like a kickball league, volleyball clinics, and basketball clinics. So we're very proud of some of these other events that we do that range from a day commitment to about a month commitment. Last year, we also, through your support, we kicked off a senior program. We went out to the community. We did a survey. We listened to what the constituents wanted, and then we kicked off an initial program with some art classes and also some other small events. Unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of response. So we let it sort of percolate over the winter. We've reached out to some of our partners, and we're going to kick this off again. I'm suggesting that we, instead of calling it a senior program, we call it an adult program. Let's open it up to anyone that really has an interest. There's a new community member, Bill Allen, who is willing to go down to Riverside Park and offer a series of learn to play chess events. We're going to still have an arts program. So the chess events would begin in June, hopefully arts in July. Then instead of a pickleball tournament, we're going to have a learn to play pickleball event up at Nevin Park, and then we'll culminate it in the fall. We did this prior to COVID with an adult yoga program on Fridays down at Scott Park. So we'll start marketing this soon, and we hope to do this and gain some interest from our adult constituents. Thanks to the mayor and his genesis, we started the pop-up program last year, the playground program, to a rousing success. We co-opted with the YMCA, and we did this at a variety of parks. We did it at Centennial, we did it at Nevin, we did it at the pools. We provided free lunch, and the Y did a lot of programming that involved social interaction for our children. Also did physical activities, and there was some STEM activities that revolved around science, experiments, and some learning aspects for reading and math, etc. We're bringing that back this summer, and we're very excited about that program also. Next are the park improvements. The mayor and I and Lewis and Dave Hopkins had quite a few conversations that reached back to about 2.5 years ago. And I said to the mayor once, I don't know if you remember that, we have great parks, aesthetically pleasing, good location, but they're tired, is the term I used. And so we've made a strong commitment of about $500,000 minimally over the last 2.5 years. And I want to share some of those improvements with you because hopefully you've noticed them. They're very visual. We started at Heil Park. We've put a great deal of emphasis on our sports facilities recently. Heil Park, we've made improvements. We put an all-new fence up for the football facility. We've added goalposts. We've improved and extended the parking lot. And we still have some other things that we're going to be doing this year. In addition to that, we just put a new backstop up at the Heil softball field that is adjacent to Heil. And we've added some new bleachers, and we've painted the storage area. So it really looks like it's in good shape. So then transition right over to the Heil pool. Some of these things won't be real visual for you. You know, those are antiquated facilities. And we are spending this spring alone over $60,000 on the mechanics of both Heil pool and Eddyside pool. New filtration system, new computer system. We think the water quality will improve, and there won't be as much downtime. The last couple of years, occasionally, we've had to close the pools just because of chlorination counts and some chemical imbalances. So we're really happy about that, but it's not something visual. On the visual end, though, at Heil, we did improve the bathhouse last year. We've redone the bathrooms. We put some improvements into the snack bar, and we're going to turn our attention and do the same thing at Eddyside this summer. We'll do some repainting and some cosmetic improvements also to Eddyside. We've also made some improvements at Nevin Park. We've listened to our citizens. We resurfaced the tennis court and the basketball court, but at the same time, we've laid down pickleball courts. So we have 2 pickleball courts available for everyone. In addition to that, there's been landscaping improvements. The fountain has been renovated. We're very proud of our efforts at Nevin Park. Additionally, Lochinor Park, that's one that's really occurring right now as we speak. We've redone the infield. In addition to that, there was an old fence that went along the perimeter. We've taken that down. It was rusted. It was unsafe. And we've added a new fence to that area. In addition to that, we've also added a basketball court. And I was over there yesterday, and there were kids playing there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday. And we have a new swing set in there. And our next improvement, and it should occur probably in the next week or two, will be a new playground set at Lochinor. Then also over at St. Joseph's on the south side. It's a small area, but it's a highly used area. We had previously put in a seesaw. We'd also put in a swing set. And again, just last week, with the weather changing, we're able to put up a basketball court there. And once again, when I went around yesterday, there were kids playing there. So it's a good sign. It's a good sign. So those are some of the things we're doing. But this is a process. This is an evolution. It does not end here today. It does not end with Lochinor. We have great plans also for the West Ward. You heard some talk about that earlier tonight. But we have some grant money, and our attention will turn to Vanderveer and Centennial and some of the pocket parks so that we will not leave those areas unattended in the future. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, he's not here tonight, but we have a relatively new parks director, Kyle Lay. You may or may not be familiar with him. He's a great partner to work with, and I really appreciate, I'm sure Dave does, his leadership in that area. So he's been great. So, in a quick manner, the city's busy, recreation's busy. We enjoy being partners in some small way to improve the quality of life for our citizens.
Well, we certainly want to thank you, and I want to thank my colleagues on council for supporting the budget amendments and the appropriation of dollars for all the playground improvements. And most of that is coming from the Open Space Recreation Fund, but some of it's coming from general fund as well. So we appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Any questions or comments? All right, we'll move on.
Mayor, one more item. I wanted to call John Kingsley up on a project that, that stemmed from the Southside Civic Association meeting that you had not too long ago?
There was an individual that had a question.
Okay, let me pause then. All right,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Did you have a question?
Was your question about the recreation? Yeah. Go ahead.
I need your name and address.
Don't have to come up.
Sir, can you come to the microphone? I need your name and address as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Make sure I get a copy of that presentation.
My name is Ray Smallberger, Smallberger, 838 West Belton. I'm on the south side. I'm just curious about did a little problem last year with the lifeguards not having enough. I'm just asking, is there any way we could like advertise more in the school, swimming team or anything like that? Possibly get more lifeguards? I don't know if we have a lifeguard situation this year. I don't know.
Well, we do and we don't. We're
Okay.
working with it, and that, the high school team. I know they've branched out and they've looked at all the different areas. Recruitment. David Hopkins is here. Why don't you give us an update on the? Oh, Kevin can do it. That's right. Sure.
I don't mind. I just want to
No, absolutely.
try to help out with ideas or something. All right,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
It's not only a problem here in the city of Easton, but it's a nationwide problem, the shortage, and we're very aware of that. We did some research just to give you a little background, and we pay $15 approximately an hour for our lifeguards, and that's a higher rate than any of the competitions, the Palmers, the Bethlehem Townships, and the Phillipsburgs. So it's a very, very attractive from that perspective. The YMCA is doing some recruitment. They actually were last week at Easton High School interviewing candidates for the pop-up program and for lifeguards. So they're working closely, and they have talked to the swim coaches over there. Currently, we have 15 people that are willing to lifeguard. Our projection just to be up and going for every other day is about 20 lifeguards. So we're still 5 short. But we're putting a push. Dave and I have talked with the Y recently, and we're making a real push to see how many more lifeguards we can get. Again, in short order, within the next week or so, because there's a training process, and we have to get them up and going. So our efforts being made.
And then the YMCA will train them and pay for their certification as senior lifeguards, because obviously you need a certification. But we're scheduled to be open every other day for season pass. If we add every day, that's great. That's our goal. But our goal is to get at least 40 lifeguards also.
Mayor, I just want to say too, to the gentleman's comments, I mean, everyone here can have a role also of recruiting lifeguards.
Sure.
So I do want to let you know, it's a simple conversation that you can have. I was speaking to a couple of our interns that we've had here in the city that are now going to be going on to college, and one of them was looking at a $12 an hour position. And I said, well, why don't you become a lifeguard? So I connected them with the YMCA. But it is that simple of a conversation. So just please spread the word, because it can be that organic. We don't have to leave it up just to general advertisements. But as of right now, it seems very promising as we're talking to the staff. It's for us, we have some urgency because we want to see that open every day.
Is
Mr.
there-
Kingsley. Oh,
Is there an age requirement, Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
18 plus?
Yeah.
no.
No.
We're down
16.
to 16.
16.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I have a question for you. I just thought of something actually as we're talking about this. Do we do any kind of like in-school recruitment, like with tables and HR and like at the high school and maybe at the colleges that Lois just said?
Well, that
Not at the colleges.
Not-
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
regarding the YMCA, is that what you're? Well, first of all,
Well, I mean, just for recruiting lifeguards. I mean, if we just had a table at the high school,
so this is managed by the YMCA 100%.
right? But we can help with recruitment, though. Nothing said we can't help with recruitment.
So, and like I just said, I mean, that's something that we can do.
Kevin said they were just at
Right.
the high school last
Right.
week.
Last week, they were at the high school.
just presenting or walking around, or like did you have like a
They had sent information previous to the school district.
Right.
They had spoken with the swim coach, and then they were actually on site trying to generate applications and also interview potential employees.
And we're still incentivizing them with a sign-on bonus this year?
I'm not sure. I don't think that's on the table.
That's what we did last year, didn't we?
We did that last year, but I don't think that's on the
We did
table
last
this
year.
year.
250 maybe?
Yeah.
Didn't we, I thought we had an incentive though for them.
Last year we did.
You know what it was?
$200, something like that, if they completed the
If
the
they
year.
completed the season, it
That's
wasn't
right,
a signing
completed
bonus,
the
it was a
season.
fulfillment bonus.
It was a retention issue, and that's right.
Everybody,
complete the season.
everyone was quit
So
the
if they
first
stayed
week.
the whole year, they got an extra $200.
That's correct.
I wonder if we actually reverse that.
I don't know how that model would work currently.
I mean, everyone else is doing it to recruit.
Well, if we have
You
issues,
incentivize them initially, and
I
you
think-
have them sign employment agreements then.
I think all options.
I mean,
are
it
on
happens
the
in the
table
private
still.
sector. I mean,
Sure.
well, that is the private sector.
Yeah, the private sector says you gotta be there a year. You get your
I mean-
sign-on bonus. You don't get a signing up. You gotta work the first year, then you get your sign-up bonus.
well, that's not overly accurate.
Let's
I
get,
mean, you can actually, I mean, you can.
Sometimes they'll prorate it though. They'll give you $200, but after the first 2 weeks, they'll give you 20 of that. After the fourth week, they'll give you 50 of it.
I mean, it depends how you word it. I mean, it's irrelevant. The problem is, if we're not getting through the door, how can we incentivize them?
I'm not sure that we're not getting through the door, but what we can do is give you a better update from the YMCA at the next meeting.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Lori. We can bring Lori.
Mayor, so on the next item on the agenda, as I was saying, is, first of all, there was a handout that was given to everyone. Rita, I'm sure you got this handout. And this letter from First Commonwealth stemmed from meetings that we've had with the Southside Civic Association, in which, there were questions about bringing in a bank. But First Commonwealth also was introduced to the city on another initiative. I'm going to let Mr. Kingsley talk a little bit about how First Commonwealth and this letter came to pass. And then we'd also like to invite one of their executives and a board member who's also a city resident, just be acknowledged. Excuse me, not a board member, one of their chief lending officer who's here, just to make a few comments. But there is also a board member that's a city resident who should be acknowledged. Go ahead.
Sure. So, by way of background, let's go back 2 years and recall council's work in approving the recommendations of the Affordable Housing Task Force. So, when you did that, you kind of charged us with going out and creating what's known as a Housing Development Corporation, and as a supportive, or affiliated organization, a community development financial institution. So as we are now working with what was the Affordable Housing Task Force, now referred to as the Affordable Housing Transition Committee, in creating the Housing Development Corporation, we've also started to begin having discussions with area lending institutions, banks, and related entities as it relates to investment in that organization and investment and participation in the community development financial institution that we will ultimately create. In the context of this, I got to meet the president of First Commonwealth Federal Credit Union, Donna Listaca, at a conference, and we had a conversation about our Affordable Housing Task Force, its work, and the recommendations, as well as the Community Development Financial Institution. She was very interested in what we were doing from an affordable housing standpoint. It is a thing that First Commonwealth is very interested in supporting and promoting. And we went out and met with her and kind of reviewed the strategy that we're working on, I'll call it the initial plan for the development of the Housing Development Corporation and the Community Development Financial Institution. She was just very taken with the work that we were doing. And at the same time, we got the chance to talk about things like, having a banking desert on the south side, which is obviously made more complicated by the recent relocation of Fulton and Wells Fargo. So in all of the context, we started to discuss how we might partner, and there is interest within First Commonwealth in supporting the Community Development Financial Institution's activities and becoming part of that resource system that we will create, not only, I think, in participating in some of the lending resources we might make available, but certainly in the educational components of the work that the CDFI will do to help, increase financial, education and awareness amongst borrowers and homeowners. So in that context, we asked if she might be willing to support this in the form of a letter, which she was willing to do. And we are very much looking forward to working on this relationship with First Commonwealth. Our interests are aligned, very sensitive to this area of community development, and we are very thankful to have them as a partner. And Terry Greer, their Chief Lending Officer, is here with us, and I'd like to give him an opportunity to speak. Also, Juan Martinez, a board member of First Commonwealth, is also here with us. And you can see, the information that is in the letter. This kind of outlines what I just what I just presented, and I'll let them provide comments on behalf of First Commonwealth. So, without further ado, Terry Greer and Juan Martinez.
First of all, I want to thank John. My name is Terry Greer. I'm the Chief Lending Officer for First Commonwealth Federal Credit Union.
We need you to speak into the microphone, Terry, because it's people out in audio land are watching.
All right, great. Again, my name is Terry Greer. I'm the Chief Lending Officer for First Commonwealth Federal Credit Union. I want to thank both John, Lewis, and the mayor for allowing us to come and speak this evening. Juan Martinez is a board member. He is a resident of Easton, as well as a business member of Easton and a member of the credit union. So for those of you who don't know about First Commonwealth Federal Credit Union, we were actually formed in 1959, before I was born. It was formed by the Western Electric employees. They formed Wee Allen Federal Credit Union, which evolved into First Commonwealth Federal Credit Union today. So now we have 74,000 plus members throughout the Lehigh Valley. We have 12 financial centers, and we are excited about the possibility and feasibility of partnering with the City of Easton to put a financial center in the south side of Easton to serve those residents in what we consider as a banking desert. We're equally as excited about joining forces to look at the CDI efforts and affordable housing efforts that the City of Easton is exploring. So I thank you very much, really appreciate it.
Could you just spell your last name, please?
Yeah, Grier.
Thank you.
Sure, Juan. Juan's a little taller than I am.
Thank you for having us. As a board member of the credit union, we are excited for the opportunity. And I know all the resources that the credit union has to offer greatly benefit the residents of this community. So I'm a big supporter. I'm a member of the credit union, and they have some great program that could greatly enhance the financial life of many of our residents. So thank you for having us, and looking forward to.
Well, Juan, I want to thank you because Juan is the owner of two restaurants in Easton, the Don Juan on the end of 3rd Street on North 3rd, and where Roger and I had breakfast this morning at Miss Jackson's. So we enjoy your restaurants. We enjoy having you. And he's also restoring one of the larger homes up on the College Hill that was a 4-unit, and he's returning it down to a 1-unit. So we're really happy about the deconversion. Good. And just want to thank you. Also, you may not know this, and Don Juan has a food truck. So Juan and his family, his wife and his son, were over at the Easton Area Neighborhood Center on Saturday giving away free food. And I just want to thank you. No, he didn't want no publicity or anything, and it's just the way he is. Juan is an excellent person. So thank you, Juan.
And thank you for
First Commonwealth, I mean, I know that I want to thank John and Sean. When they came back from that meeting, we knew we had to get something done as far as getting a bank on South Side. Very shortly, we're going to have to get a bank downtown, too, because we're losing them. But we got to get a bank on South Side, a financial institution. It is a bank desert, and hopefully it doesn't become a food desert because we have some concerns about the market back there. But we want to thank both of you. Terry just met you tonight for the first time. I've had several meetings now with Don about the location of a Commonwealth, First Commonwealth over in Southside. So I want to thank you for meeting you as well.
Thank you.
Juan, I want to thank you too for.
Before you leave, I'm also a member of the First Commonwealth Credit Union. I joined when they had a branch on Lehigh Street, the 800 block of Lehigh Street.
Oh,
so
yeah,
while we're talking about that, we could still use a branch in the West Ward as well. Thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, Juan, I want to thank you also for all that you do in the city of Easton. And also thank you for catering our afternoon gathering at the county for my staff and everything. The food was great. It went in 20 minutes.
Took that long?
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to no correspondence, so unfinished business. Go to new business, Madam Clerk.
We have a bill number 19 that's going to be introduced by Mrs. Sultana, which would create a new chapter 189 animals, which will address declawing of cats and puppy mills and stuff like that.
Guinea pigs.
I introduce.
Okay, bill number 20 was removed. Hold on one second. Okay, we have a resolution being introduced by Dr. Ruggles, which would amend the City of Easton's Emergency Operations Plan.
So move.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Roll call.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana.
Aye.
Mayor Panto.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mr. Milan.
Aye.
And Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
We have a resolution being introduced by Dr. Ruggles, which would approve a lease agreement between the City of Easton and 911leasing.com for rescue tools for the fire department.
So move.
Second.
Moved and second. Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Sultana.
Aye.
Mayor Panto.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mr. Milan.
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
And Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
We have a resolution being introduced by Mr. Ettinger, which approves the developers agreement between the City of Easton and ANR for the property at 40 South 6th Street.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Discussion? Roll call.
Mayor Panto.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mr. Milan.
No.
Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
And Mrs. Sultana.
Aye.
We have a resolution being introduced by Mr. Ettinger, which approves a stormwater runoff control facilities agreement between the City of Easton and ANR, and that is also for the project at 40 South 6th Street.
So moved.
Moved. This is a second.
Second.
Moved and second. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mr. Milan.
No.
Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana.
Aye.
And Mayor Panto.
Aye.
We have a resolution being introduced by Mr. Ettinger, which would approve an agreement between the City of Easton and Atlas Engineering, and it's for investigatory work and to provide design and engineering services for upgrade of sanitary sewer infrastructure on the 300 block of Ferry Street.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
And Mr. Brown?
Aye.
We have a resolution being introduced by Mayor Panto approving a lease agreement between the City of Easton and DOC 2401 Northampton Street MOB LLC, and it's for a billboard located on the southeast side of the property facing Wood Avenue, approximately near the 25th Street exit off of Route 22.
So moved. This happens to be the billboard that's where the old Shibels Bakery used to be. It is now Lehigh Valley Health Network. Was owned by Jim Petrucci. We are leasing that for free advertisement of, you may have seen the one that says Stop and Shop right now, trying to promote people to come downtown.
Don't stop the shop.
Don't stop the shop, yeah, I know. I don't like that one. But you may have seen the other one that had picture of Larry Holmes, D. Rossioli, and Josiah Young. And that was up most of the summer. So that's what that's that billboard. It's not on the southeast quadrant of the circle or anything like that.
I'll second that.
Move to second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
And Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
We have a resolution being introduced by Mr. Milan, which would amend the salary and wage ordinance. It's changing in the highway department, taking out for laborer and making it a driver to laborer, and increasing the numbers of patrol officers in the police department.
Moved.
Second.
Moved in second discussion. Roll call.
Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana.
Aye.
Mayor Panto.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
And Mr. Milan.
Aye.
And we have a resolution being introduced by Mrs. Sultana, which would kind of make the city or ask the city to recognize many Muslim holidays and so forth.
I just want to make a small amendment. I'm not sure if I have to reintroduce the resolution.
Make a small change.
Okay, what is the change?
You want to move it first, Rita? You want to?
Yeah, go ahead, discussion.
Rita,
What?
should we have her move it first?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
First.
Okay.
Say move.
Move it first. Move it.
Okay.
Moved, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. David?
Well,
Mr.
Well,
O'Connell?
yeah,
I want to do the amendment
I
now.
do it. Oh, go ahead. And
Yeah,
say
go
what-
ahead. No, go ahead. That's fine.
All right. Well, we discussed it last night.
Last
I don't believe it should contain the provision where the city has to help organize a dinner with with any religious group.
Right.
So I think that should be stricken from the resolution.
She was going to make the amendment.
So
What
the,
she was doing.
is the
Well, that's
amendment?
why I asked
Yes.
her to say it. Go first. But
Is part of that amendment going to strike out where it says the first sentence, where it starts with says Easton community, it has none of the holidays and celebrations recognized? I think that's kind of, we can strike that. It makes it sound like we're being against it. Come up with another verbiage.
My concern about this resolution is, says, whereas the Muslim community of Easton is an essential part of the Eastern community, I think all religious communities are part of are an integral part. And we don't have any resolution that says that. I think the Jewish, the Catholic, the Protestant, they're all very important parts of our community. And I think by saying that, and it says yet has none of its holidays and celebrations recognized by the city of Easton, I don't know that we recognize any holidays that are religious. Our collective bargaining agreements may, that's because the unions have asked for things like Good Friday off or something like that. I understand that, but that's not this. I don't, Madam Clerk, do we have a calendar that recognizes those?
Not really. It's what the unions have is what we have, days that we celebrate.
I don't know of any calendar that's kept by the city that has any religious holidays and celebrations on it.
Mayor, just for clarification on the for the non-union days off, they do
They match the union.
the AFSCME contract.
Right, yeah.
And just so you know, we're clear, when we sit down for negotiations, we tell AFSCME you have 10 days that you can select as holidays. So, because there's been times when they wanted to, for example, select a federal holiday that is not on a list. So it's always been up to those negotiations to make those adjustments. I just want to let everyone know on how it works behind the scenes. So whatever AFSCME does in their contract, then non-union
They gave up Election Day for
matches it.
They gave up one of their President's Days for Martin Luther King Day. I mean, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th.
Well,
whereas says
Juneteenth came up during
yeah, it always
during
comes,
during
sure will.
negotiations, and we told AFSCME, you can take whatever holidays you want.
Exactly.
This is the board, but it's 10. So it's a negotiated item, and you negotiate which holiday you want.
It says whereas on March 22nd, 2023, the President of the United States released a statement acknowledging. I'm more than happy to make a statement, but to put this into a form of resolution and basically ignoring all the other religions that have a very integral part of our history and heritage, I think is wrong. I said, I'll gladly do a statement, but I think to put this in a resolution, and at the end it talks about us putting on our social media website. We don't put any religious holidays on our website.
So first of all, this is the commemorating to the Muslim holidays,
Right.
not other religious. We can bring more resolutions. Anybody's free to bring more resolutions for different religious. So this is just to commemorating Muslim holidays. So saying that, why I didn't put other religious, because we're not talking about them. We can bring other resolutions. Anybody can bring. Second, I have seen posted, and I do have a screenshots, and everybody knows that Passovers, other religious holidays has been posted on the Instagram page, so city's Instagram page.
Tracy should not be, if she's doing that, she shouldn't be doing it. I mean, we shouldn't be doing it. I believe in separation of church and state. That's what the rule is. The constitutional amendment does not allow us, we have to maintain church and state separate. I don't agree with it, but I have to live by it. That's my point here, that I think you're just, I mean, on the backside, and now therefore it says the city acknowledges Ramadan on its social media website. I don't think we should be doing that. I don't think we should be doing that. Now you're putting in a resolution of city council, which basically tells us we have to do it. I mean, because it is a resolution.
It's on the federal calendar, though.
I don't have a problem with the resolution. I don't have a problem recognizing the Muslim faith as an integral part of our community and our country. I don't have a problem with that at all. I have a problem committing to writing something that is in violation of what I've been told, it maintain the separation of church and state. I went to a Seder meal. I mean, I go to a St. Joseph's Catholic dinner, and I don't know that, I just
So
don't
I will
know.
be amending the last part, by the way. And I don't understand the other
Okay,
objection.
so you want to, on the be it further resolved, you want to take out the city investigates the possibility of co-hosting a yearly.
Yeah, that's what I want to amend.
Okay, hold on. Collaborating with. Okay, so where do you want to take it out from? From what point to what point?
Did you guys review this at all? Either one of you look at this by any chance? So that we're not stepping into like uncharted territory.
We both saw it. It's
Did you have
not
any issues with it?
concerns about the dinner part. I mean,
Okay.
in the public space.
Okay.
I mean, technically, this is a judicial decision. If I could get up and speak as a citizen now and not as the attorney, I have some very definitive feelings about engaging in any type of endorsement of any of the religions, including, Hanukkah and Passover. And
So,
That's fair.
I'm
So-
suggesting to amending that part.
Okay.
Anyway.
Tell me where.
that was the biggest thing, because that was something definitive. As far as the calendar goes, there it's a matter of, do we really have a calendar? If we don't, then it's silly to have that in there.
That's fair. I just want to see if you guys reviewed it, that's all.
And the first paragraph.
Oh, I'm going to work on this last.
Yeah, no one asked us to help develop. I mean, no one asked us to help frame it. But we saw it, and you have little red flags light up here or there. But for the most part, we respect the fact that any council person could put together a resolution. You just have to look at finally at the end, what does the resolution call for? So there were two parts. The one part about having a dinner was, quite questionable, frankly, because we don't do that for anything else. So is that creating supporting a religion, which is what we try to avoid constitutionally? The other part about acknowledging it on websites, et cetera, the question I would have as a legislator is, do we have the website? And if we don't have it, then why would you be doing it?
Fair, okay.
Legally, you can. You'll be setting it up just for this particular purpose, and nothing. And then if everybody else wants to start coming up with resolutions, as Councilman
But we
Sultana
do
said,
recognize Christmas, Easter, Rosh Hashanah, Hanukkah, everything.
we
right?
do. I've never seen it. I know that I've now had two planning commissions that I've had to miss because they've been scheduled on nights, the first night of Passover, and I think either Rosh Hashanah or so not only is it not listed, but there's also meetings in direct conflict with on a day that I could not attend.
We'll change them for you from now on.
No, thank you.
Okay. So in the last paragraph, I need to know what I'm taking out.
The city investigates the possibility of co-hosting the yearly iftar. This should be.
I can't hear you.
The city
Okay.
investigates the possibility of co-hosting a yearly iftar dinner. This is what I've been removing.
What about once a month, once during the
Yeah,
month?
the whole sentence.
And what about collaborating with local Muslim community? Does that come out as well?
Yes.
And what about, and in Ramadan spirit of inclusivity and community? Like it's all one.
It's all one sentence.
So
yeah.
just only, so that whole thing comes out.
Yes.
Okay, so the last paragraph's going to read, be it further resolved, the city of Easton adds, what's a mistake, the month of Ramadan, and I'm sorry I can't pronounce the last two things, to its official celebrations and observance calendar. But we said we didn't have a calendar, so what are we doing here?
I don't know of any calendar. It's official, added it to its official celebrations and observations calendar. I don't know that we have a
do we
calendar.
have a city calendar? I think we do actually.
We do.
I mean,
Where?
we do have a city
We do have a
calendar.
city
Okay.
I think we have a city calendar with the days off
Right.
acknowledged and
Yes.
the title of those days.
But that
in
is
the
a
AFSCME
collective
agreement.
bargaining agreement.
That's right.
That's has nothing. We don't have
But
an
just
official
for
calendar.
clarification, that's
Of course we have a calendar for
And that's-
CBAs.
and
I'm
that-
I'm
Right,
not
so-
dumb. Of course we have that. But
Just-
that's a legal document that's negotiated. And if somebody is the Muslim president is Muslim and wants to add that, that's fine. We would say pick one of your 10.
So,
I agree. I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
So what is the last?
But the only
paragraph?
time it's advertised, Peter, is when so there's a list of days that are off,
right.
and then the days off it has like some sort of title on it.
Lewis, I'm just trying to balance the issues here. I'm agree with you 110%. I'm just trying to outweigh how we
I'm not in
compare.
the argument. I'm just
Yeah,
explaining what
no,
we
I
do.
get it, but I mean, look at the calendar now, and there's things on here. I mean, we have the farmers market, we have Southside Civic Association. I mean, if we start adding holidays to it, what is the harm? I mean, I guess what's the harm if we just add holidays to this?
I don't see any.
Okay, that's fair. I'm just trying to resolve this. That's all. I mean,
Mr. Scheer, can we add holidays? Can we add religious holidays to that calendar that you're talking about? That calendar is a schedule of events. It's not a schedule of religious holidays.
well,
Mr. Clark is looking at the official city calendar that shows what days there are. I mean, we did note that the planning commission meeting the first Wednesday of April does not mention Passover. I'm not familiar with that calendar mentioning holidays. I mean, it's whether the city wants to start incorporating like I have my calendar at work that's printed by someone else who mentions. I know every first Monday that the people in London are off from work, but it's the
what's the holiday?
well, yeah, they're special, government holidays. People in Europe don't work a whole month here. But seriously, if you wanted to develop, it would make more sense if you wanted to develop a calendar for
I would like
awareness.
to vote for this, but I would like to vote for it knowing that it talks about inclusivity, but it's bent down on one religion. I'd like to look at this and maybe talk about Ramadan, which I used to teach, by the way. I used to teach in my world cultures class. But I think this really needs a committee hearing to talk about. We tried to talk about it last night, and one thing came up, and all it did was led to more concerns this morning when the first whereas says we're recognizing Muslim, but not no one else. So I want to recognize everyone. I don't want to be.
It might. Now I'm speaking more of a citizen, I guess. It might be helpful if there was a separate calendar or there was a reference in calendars for educational purposes and review for all the different people in the city who are affected or impacted by particular dates.
I mean, we used to have a
we
live
wanted to.
nativity set in Center Square. We don't have that anymore because we weren't allowed to have it. I mean, so I'm looking at what
That's
we
only
do-
because Bethlehem had the copyright on the patent on it, and they would have brought an action.
I just know we don't do it anymore because we were told, and we used to call it the Christmas scandal. Now it's called the peace scandal. I mean, we don't call it the Christmas village like they do in Europe. We call it the winter village. So we try to stay away from those religious connotations.
Except
and
for
here we
the-
are passing a resolution, or asking we pass a resolution that only talks about one religion, although it's a major religion. I would be more than happy to vote for this.
And
I just don't want to get us into a situation where somebody in the community says you can't do that and sues us.
Well, I think from a more practical point of view is where does this actually show up? What do we have in the city that you could, if the resolution is to add it on a calendar, do we have a calendar? I don't,
We do.
We do.
for
Religious holidays?
celebrations and
Well,
observations
you have a
calendar?
separate calendar. You're asking for a calendar.
No, this says to the official celebrations and observations calendar, and my question
know
is,
what
do
that
we
means.
have an official, because the official calendar that Mr. Clark is looking at does not talk about that.
We have
And
we have a city calendar.
that's right,
Okay, just want to make sure we're both on the same page.
and that's not what this says.
Okay, that's different. I apologize. I mean,
And that's from
the
a
problem.
practical legislative perspective, to make this meaningful, because the educational aspect of the component of this is very valid.
Does council want us to put together a list of all the dates that we publish? I mean, we can get that from the clerk's office too. I mean, from the clerk, we can put together all of the dates that are published, and then that way you have a better idea of what's Ms. Sultana, I'm sorry, you have a better idea of what we have officially published. I mean, it seems like there's a difference between official and unofficial. There's some unofficial recognition on Instagram, like you had mentioned, and on our Facebook site, which is managed by our consultant. But we can and then there's other items that you picked up on events that occur with GDP or any type of city-sponsored events. But we can certainly go through it. Maybe that's what we need to get a better idea of what we have internally here.
Mr. Campos, I'm not sure I know exactly what you mean.
So you manage, I believe, or like for example, the council meetings, and you.
Every second and fourth Wednesday.
That's right.
Correct.
That's right. And there may be other meetings that there are other meetings that are with other deliberative bodies within
Like
government.
planning, zoning, and
That's
all that.
exactly it.
Okay.
So getting a list of all of that, coupled with the dates that are put in our CBAs, and anything else that's published
Well, the
internally
holidays
and
and the
formally.
CBAs come from HR.
That's right. So we would have to put that all together and I think present it here for better transparency for the council. And that's what they're asking for. Because there seems to be some discrepancy here, and we can certainly come back to council and present all those reports. If you want to, it's only a
I have no
suggestion.
problem doing it. I just wanted clarification. I don't, like I said, because I can tell you what the holidays are that we get.
I'm not asking you to do things that you don't manage. Yeah, we could get the
I'm
other
not saying
departments
you
to do
are.
that, right.
I'm just saying, I can tell you the planning commission meets every first Wednesday. I can tell you that council meets every second and fourth Wednesday and the previous Tuesday. I can tell you all that. The zoning meets the third Monday. I can tell you all that, and I can give you all that.
What perhaps makes the most sense is to have somewhere within the city website, have a separate calendar of events and holidays that are not official holidays, events and days of interest. And you would have you could have the different holidays of the various religions, including these dates. You could have Arbor Day, days of that people. The official February 12th is Abraham Lincoln's birthday, which there's just a generation that remembers getting off of school 2 days a year in February instead of 1 day a year.
we should put your birthday on the calendar too.
December 6th, Joelism.
August 4th is my birthday. I want my birthday on the calendar too.
That's my daughter's birthday too.
Yeah.
So
When I was chairing the zoning hearing board, we had a member who objected that we would meet on Martin Luther King Day, and I agreed. It was a federal holiday. The zoning hearing board would come to City Hall, and we'd have to pay people to manage that and unlock it. So I made the decision that on those federal holidays, we just moved the zoning hearing board to
reschedule
the
it ahead
next
of time.
night. And I didn't ask the city, I didn't ask anybody else, and nobody seemed to object. I'm
yeah,
not
just
sure.
as long as our city clerk advertises it, you're good.
January and February, those meetings are done on Tuesday instead of Monday. Because one's President's Day and then.
But I mean, that's all part of what you have to think about. Until we get to the be it resolved, the resolution's fine. It's be it resolved. It has to have it should have a practical application. And eliminating the part that would create an one part is educational,
How
listing
about
on
we
a
just say,
calendar is
be it further
educational.
resolved that the city of Easton will develop a celebrations and an observations calendar and add all these 3 Muslim days to it.
With the inclusion of, well, that,
Because we don't have a celebration, an official celebrations observation calendar.
you'd have to develop the
We'd have to
calendar.
develop it and make sure that the Muslims are part of it. I have no problem with that.
Or supporting the community, that the city supports the
I have
community.
no problem with that.
Well, all
Just
your,
looking at the calendar, on the December 20th, menorah lighting ceremony was held in.
Ours.
That's
That's
not
an
ours?
event that is put on by the rabbi from up around Scranton. We do a lot of those things. We do
It
support.
says City of Easton.
Well, it's not. It's rabbi. What is? I don't even
I
know
have,
the rabbi's name.
it's, I forgot the.
And he
He comes down from Allentown.
No, he comes
Well,
from
there's
actually
up from
north.
Wilkes-Barre too. There's,
up by
there's
Pocono.
a,
That's more for where it's going to be instead of something
Where-
that's supported by the city of Easton. It's going to be in the city of Easton is where that lighting.
But that sounds like City of Easton menorah lighting ceremony. Sounds like City of Easton is celebrating the ceremony.
well,
And
Well,
at the
it's just the
cen-
way
at
it's
the center
written, but
square.
It meant that's where it's going to
Yeah,
occur.
it's not. We don't.
Okay.
And Danny Cohen pays for all the beignets and whatever.
well,
The point
Well,
being,
whatever- whatever
the
it is,
point
it's
being,
a
though,
little
I don't
bit-
think any of us up here sitting, we want to see this thing happen. We just want to have the right verbiage
Yeah,
in there.
so I just want to make
for,
sure
you know.
So
legal.
what is your suggestion, Mr.
I did give you my suggestions, both last night in committee and also tonight. But there was other questions that were brought up already this evening that added to that. Mine was to eliminate the city investment, investigates co-hosting, which
We did.
we did.
We did that, yeah.
Okay, and then myself and also the mayor wanted some clarity on that whereas on the first line.
is that from last year or this year?
You said first line?
Could
Yeah.
that, under
And-
the first whereas, the Muslim community of Easton is an essential part of the Easton community, and you're saying we should end it there and take out yet has none of its holidays and celebrations? Is that what you're
That's
trying to say?
exactly what I was trying to say.
Okay, well,
But this is true.
And but by the way, I would happen to agree. I think in the future for this, if next year or the end of December, if they have a menorah lighting, it shouldn't say City of Easton, say menorah lighting celebration.
Hosted by such and so.
But what? Yeah, it doesn't need to say City of Easton on top. The way it's worded, Mr. Clark just showed me.
I think he did that because there's one in Allentown.
I know. I'm sure whatever he did, he's not going to listen to us anyway. He'll do what he wants. But I understand that point, and to be consistent, that's something that can be worded differently.
what was your suggestion for the last paragraph then?
I was just saying that the city of Easton will create a official celebration of observations calendar and make sure, add that the month of Ramadan and the 2 other holidays be recognized in that calendar. I think that, I have no problem. Like I say, I have no problem with the resolution. I just think it's so specific that it could get us in trouble. I mean,
So then it should actually read, and I'm sorry, Dan, I'm just trying to get what it's gonna do. Be it further resolved, the city of Easton will develop an official celebrations calendar and will include Ramadan, and then there's 2 other things, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce.
Well, you need to learn that then. Eid
That's
al-Fitr,
not nice.
Eid al-Fitr, and no.
That's not
Because this is why this resolution here is here. Because we are an essential part of the community,
absolutely.
Okay,
right? So maybe
I don't know how to
maybe
pronounce it.
we need to put this on the calendar or on the city side, so we all can learn about different cultures, different religions.
I
That's
agree.
what I
I
just
agree
said.
100%.
This is the point.
be it further resolved, the city of Easton will create an official celebrations calendar and will include Ramadan and those 2 other things to its official celebrations and observations.
Eid al-Fitr and
Got it.
Eid al-Adha.
Okay,
And you probably want to make it just be it resolved, but not make it be it further.
Not further resolved. It's going to
Okay.
be a resolved.
no problem,
There's no second paragraph.
no problem.
And then I would have no problem voting for it.
And did you have a problem with this the eighth whereas?
Well,
Which one is that?
Whereas don't mean anything.
it doesn't mean, you know,
All right,
it,
that's
just that when
fine.
President Biden released a statement, he didn't go to Congress and get a bill passed.
Okay, and then
Yes, a
number one
statement.
is gonna stay as it is. We're gonna leave in yet has none of
Yes.
its holidays and celebrations done.
Yes,
All right, so
Because
the only
that's-
thing changing is the last paragraph.
Correct.
Therefore, be it resolved.
Okay, so, Mrs. Sultana introduced it, Roger seconded it, but then we had to amend it. So who made the motion to amend,
I motion to amend.
and who seconded it?
I was seconded.
Okay,
Can you just read that last paragraph, how you have it?
sure.
Thank you.
No problem. Be it resolved that the city of Easton will create an official celebrations calendar, and it will include Ramadan and those two other things in its calendar. And then also there's a sentence, the city acknowledges Ramadan on its social media and website.
Right.
And that's staying in.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, that's staying.
okay. So that, does
Joel,
everybody, is
can
that?
I just ask a real quick question? Should we have, after, when you say the city shall, establish a
Well,
Official celebration.
create an
official
official
celebration calendar for educational purpose? I mean, should we say something like that after it, or just say?
You're the legislator, and that's not a bad idea. To add the word for education, you know.
I would not add that word for education.
Okay. To awaken?
We're just not at any.
I want to be very woke, because, I mean, it's,
I could vote for it the way it is. I have no problem with it. I understand why we're doing it. I have no problem with it.
Is everybody
Well-
okay with the last paragraph?
Yeah.
All right, so now I need a vote on the amended resolution.
Right, on the amended resolution.
Right. Dr. Ruggles,
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana,
Aye.
Mayor Panto.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mr. Milan,
Aye.
and Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
Okay.
Mayor, the one thing is, now that it's closed, just if I may, perhaps we can form a subcommittee to take a look at what's gonna be on that calendar. Because Ramadan is clear, or what's in this resolution is clear, but I need some guidance, on what else is gonna be on that calendar. And I prefer that it's a partnership between administration and a committee here on council, and then we can present that list over the next month or so. Just because I know what's gonna happen right now. Ramadan's on there, something is missed, something for it's missed because of human error, natural error.
No.
It has nothing to do with being like, subjective, and then all of a sudden the fingers are gonna be pointed back at the administration or
well, where we have social, I mean, since I don't see any social media, so when you talk about Facebook, I have absolutely no clue how I'd get in there. But it is a good idea to invite our citizens to suggest dates, because I don't know, I mean, we may have Hindus and Buddhists in our city.
Of course we do.
And
Temple right in the back.
and I would, I would think that I'd want to be educated about those, be aware of those dates, and learn more about all our diversity within our community.
Would each one of them need a resolution, or can it just be?
No.
Can I introduce another resolution with all the holidays in it?
But certainly somebody would have to make the determination that it's officially represents who it says it's representing.
Well, why don't you get it? If you have your committee, you come up with a draft calendar, you review it, you discuss it, and then you could adopt it as our as a resolution of.
I don't know if you realize what you're getting into here, because I can tell you, at least from the Lutheran perspective of things and the Protestant, almost every Sunday
Well,
in the entire calendar year is something.
well, that I was just saying to Mr. Clark that I'm obviously not observant, but
I mean,
but they mention Hanukkah, which has absolutely no religious import. Rosh Hashanah is the New Year, but that's all it is. Sabbath is the holy day, and Yom Kippur is the holiest of the days, and that's it. When you get to religion,
right?
I mean, that one religion, you know.
But
I'm only suggesting this just
I'm
because
just
we're
saying-
there's going to be administrative staff that's going to put this together, and then someone's going to always bring something up. Now, mind you, if you keep an open mind and you're flexible, and someone brings up a date that should be on there, we could certainly add that on and go through this deliberation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we can do that. You could have.
Yep.
100 things listed on the calendar. And then all of a sudden, the things that are really, I shouldn't say really important, but the major things kind of fall aside because you have so much there listed, you know. And so I'm just saying you're potentially opening a big door here.
So same for Muslims, like there are hundreds of holidays. So I'm mentioning only 3, the biggest one that whole world celebrates. And Islam is the second biggest religious in the world. We know that. And I'm mentioning only 3 biggest holidays. That's all.
Yeah, I'm not talking about your resolution. I'm talking about everything else.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying, but when you open a door and say, okay, we want to list the religious holidays, that can be. It's not the top 3. It's people come in and say, well, here are all our religious holidays. There's 50 of them, you know, and they would be right. I mean, who's to say this one's more important than another one?
So New York actually had a day off on Eid. They declared a day off. The schools are closed on Eid. So it's the biggest holiday.
I'm not saying that it isn't. I'm saying that if we start doing a calendar of all of the religious holidays, you could get inundated by all of the religious holidays. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just so there's a resolution that guides the administration. The resolution tells us to put celebrations on there. I don't know what that means per se, and except for Ramadan and what's clear on the resolution.
Yeah.
So I mean, this guidance coming from council to the administration. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, let's move on. Resolution is passed. We got our work cut out for us.
We voted on the amendment.
No, we voted on the way.
We voted on the amendment.
You already voted on it.
Amended resolution. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, that's right.
Call the question on the resolution.
Okay, hold on a minute. So we voted on the amendment. Now we're gonna, what
Vote on-
changes we were made.
Right.
Now we're gonna vote on it as a whole.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
Mr. Milan.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mayor Pianta.
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Now that the public gets a chance to speak, anybody would like to address city council, please come up, give your name, address, you have 5 minutes. Any comments, questions, concern, and all of our students back there, you've heard a lot of information today, so I hope you have a lot of good questions.
Hi, my name is Lynn Hill. I'm a resident of Lower Saucon Township, and I'm here tonight.
What is your address, ma'am? I need your
2340 Wassergass Road.
Oh, Wasser
Could you
Gas,
spell it?
great area.
Yes, in Hellertown.
Could you spell Wassergass?
Wassergass.
Thank you.
And I'm here because the city of Easton is a party to the conditional use hearing for the proposed expansion of the Bethlehem landfill. And I just wanted to take a few minutes and discuss some of the attributes of the Lehigh River area as it pertains to your case and our case. Your area here has 2 major attributes of value, of economic value, cultural value, and quality of life value. And that would be your rich history and your natural resources. And one of the attractions along the Lehigh River is the Hugh Moore Park and the Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridor. Hugh Moore Park, as you probably all know, celebrates the industrial history of transporting coal from the coal regions around Wilkes-Barre all the way down to Philadelphia, and the network of canals that were put in. And the only fully operational part of this towpath canal is located at Hugh Moore Park. So that's something you should celebrate. That's according to Lehigh University.
Is that
So-
the community college on South Bethlehem? I have a degree from there, so I can say that.
So does my husband. And I love their basketball, but I love watching Lafayette and Lehigh play. So the reason, if I remember correctly, the reason why you have party status to our case is because of Turkey Island. And this is a small island. It looks like it might be 20 acres. It's not sure. I'm just judging from the map. There was a study done in 1979 by the U.S. Department of Interior, a division of them called the Heritage Conservation and Recreation Service. And they recognized Turkey Island as a wildlife sanctuary. They suggested it remain a bird sanctuary. And I also have read that the Wildlands Conservancy conducts kayaking and canoe trips along the Lehigh, and they go between the island park, which is a 100-acre island, beautiful, another wildlife sanctuary. So the canoers travel between Island Park and Turkey Island. And Island Park is, of course, has that interesting history of having been an amusement park.
Yeah.
And at one time in the 19th century, you could take a trolley there for 10 cents from the city of Easton all the way to this amusement park. But of course, those days are long gone. And this island has been given back to nature, which is a wonderful thing. So what I'm suggesting is that I know you have people in your Parks and Recreation Department that are very knowledgeable about the wildlife in the area, that perhaps they'd want to take an inventory of the plants and the animals and birds that inhabit the Turkey Island. And that this could be done probably at a very reasonable cost, since you'd be using your own staff to do it. I'm really hoping that we win our case. We're doing very well so far. If you don't have the opportunity to attend these conditional use hearings, they're all being recorded, and they're out there on YouTube for people to watch. They are very interesting. And the next hearing date is May 5th, and that will be the last day that the Bethlehem landfill will be having a witness. And then after that, May 9th, I believe, is the beginning of the testimony for the opposition side. So that's when things are really going to get interesting. And my colleague Victoria will speak more about the details of that. But I just wanted to bring those things to your attention. And I thank you for listening.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to address City Council? Go ahead.
Hi, my name's Laura Ray, R-A-Y, and I'm from 3357 Lower Saucon Road, Hellertown. I love having a mic that works. This is great. Thanks for having us here and allowing us to speak. We appreciate the cordial atmosphere, since we don't have that in our home turf. So I want to follow up on some of the things that Lynn said. So since you already took the big first step in getting party status in the conditional use hearing, I would strongly like to encourage the city to actively participate in that hearing, with the dates that she said starting in May, when we'll be able to present our side of the case. So as you may be aware, the Waste Connection, which owns the Bethlehem landfill, is a huge multi-billion-dollar corporation. So fighting against their proposed expansion, we really do have David versus Goliath situation. And as such, the more entities that we have joining together to oppose this, the better position that we would all be in. The expansion has many huge impacts well beyond the borders of Lower Saucon Township. The methane and the carbon CO2 emissions, the smell, the truck traffic, the litter, the polluted leachate don't stay within Lower Saucon Township. They don't know about borders. With the Lehigh River recently being listed as the number 7 most endangered river in the entire United States due to a number of reasons, this effort to stop the expansion is even more important now than ever. The potential for a disastrous event to the river would be even greater if there is an even larger mountain of garbage with just a retaining wall to hold it back that's looming just a couple 100 feet over the river. Sorry, lose my place here. So our best preventative tool is to fight the expansion. So in closing, I'd just like to say we would welcome your and appreciate your support in this matter. And we also ask you to join all the sister municipalities that have come forward in sending your knowledgeable staff to testify at these hearings. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Victoria Optoff, O-P-T-H-O-F hyphen C-O-R-D-A-R-O. That's Optoff Cordaro, 1682 Woodfield Drive, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, in Lower Saucon Township. I want to say thank you for allowing us to come this evening. I know different members of our organization have been before you before, and you've welcomed us, and so I want to say thank you. I want to say it is amazing that Easton is one of our one part of the coalition that has joined. To remind you, we have Northampton County, Easton, Bethlehem Township, Freemansburg Borough, Hellertown, St. Luke's Hospital. We have the DNL National Heritage Corridor, the Saucon Creek Watershed Association, and the Delaware Shad Fishermen's Association. So that's along with the over 100 citizens that received party status and the many who have commented who didn't get party status but have also joined in supporting this cause. So I am back here tonight to just give you an update and explain to you what are the next steps and what's happening and how can the city continue to support and protect its resources in the city of Easton. We will begin testimony of what has been termed opposition, but it's really the coalition, on May 9th. May 9th will begin that process where we get to present all of the wonderful features that need to be preserved and protected. We will talk about all of the harmful impacts that will occur if the mountainside on the Lehigh River is deforested and turned into a garbage dump. For the city of Easton, we would like you to consider thinking about sending your staff to talk about your assets in the city of Easton. So you heard about Turkey Island, and you heard about Island Park, and of course, beautiful Humor Park, where you have wonderful events happen all year round. There are many, many organizations that utilize your park. As you know, it brings in tourism, it brings in resources, it brings in economic development. It enhances your city. As your solicitor has said at the conditional use hearing, when he obtained party status, the city uses Humor Park because it's a refuge for people to go and enjoy nature, and it's in its natural state. And if you are already burdened by the Shrin landfill on one side, You will then be burdened by another landfill on the other side, which would ultimately fragment that very critical corridor that leads all of that economic development, recreational activity, tourism, and participation of your city residents. It would fragment what they are able to use in your city and diminish all of, I think you mentioned tonight, $500,000 in parks and recreation dollars just in the last 2.5 years. I didn't hear Humor Park listed, but I'm sure you have invested many, many, many dollars into that park to make it what it is here today. So I am asking that you send one of your Parks and Recs people, one of your many knowledgeable people, to come and testify at the conditional use hearings. That is why you have party status. It gives you that ability. It would not cost you. You're not hiring experts. You're using your own in-house people. You can also talk about the economic investments that you've placed and the threat by which this landfill would place on all the investments that you've put into Humor Park and the city of Easton. We anticipate that there would be testimony all through May and June, given the number of people slated to testify. Your sister municipalities and organizations have all stepped forward with their members to come and testify, and we think that the city of Easton would only add to and increase the likelihood that we would be able to protect your assets in Easton if you came and testified. So I did send an email out to all of you, and I appreciate if you had the chance to read it, or if you haven't, if you would read it. It's basically what I'm telling you here tonight. But we are here as a resource. We are here to answer any questions for you and continue collaborating. I say at every meeting I go to, together we will win. You heard about the collaborations you had with your housing development and all of the different things you do to get grants, and how it helps when you have layers and layers and layers of different organizations and different aspects of your administration joining together. So that's just one viewpoint. Here we have a coalition of the Lehigh Valley, which is beautiful, and I think continuing that collaboration and moving forward and showing in those hearings what you have to offer and the assets you have that you want to protect is vital. So thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
If you win the land, excuse me, if you win this battle with the landfill owners, what do they do then? What do the landfill owners do then?
I can't guess what the landfill owners would do. They currently have a permit from the DEP to continue operations on the footprint that they have, which is on the other side of the mountain. So I believe that they just obtained a authorization to continue that landfill operation for another 6 or 7 years. There is a sunset to landfills. They are permitted year after year, but at some point in time they can't operate any longer. And what happens is well, for the years that they do operate, they're brown and they have garbage on them, and trucks were operating on them all day long. When they close, they become essentially a brownfield. They cover it. They have to cover it with cover, a specific type of cover, so that the gas that's decomposing with garbage is protected in a certain way. So there's very limited use that you have with it. So I don't know what their future plans are, but that's the best I can offer. The land that they're proposing to develop on is easement protected land. So, my hope is, if we are successful, that the Bethlehem landfill would partner with us, and they could certainly sell that land as open space to Northampton County or back to Lower Saucon. They only paid $10,000 for it. So it wouldn't seem like to me something out of reach for our municipalities to come together and make it a park.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Victoria.
Thank
By the
you.
way, we just recently spent $700,000 to upgrade, and we spent $3 million to repair the bridge, and we have another $3 million that it still has to go into that bridge. We don't own the small bridge. That's the county's bridge. We own the big bridge. So we have to get it painted, and in order to paint it, we have to, unlike what you're doing, is we have to protect and encapsulate the entire bridge so none of the paint goes into the river. So
Yeah, that's a big investment.
and the millions and millions of dollars went into that Humor Park to create it from the '60s. But I do know that we just put $700,000 in it. Dave, what is that, about 3 years ago we did that? Yeah, it's about 3 years ago. Yeah, maybe, was it longer than that? Yeah, I think so. It was a while ago. You were parked that $700,000 we put into, what's it, about 3 or 4 years ago? 2012? Wow.
I was gonna say it's a little longer than that.
So that's millions and millions of dollars, and I'm sure that you will have a great return on your investment if you come and give that testimony to the conditional use hearing officer later on. I would think at this point, once we get to the municipalities, it would be June. And so you have plenty of time to gather all of that relevant information and provide your employees to protect those millions of dollars.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Victoria, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Green, Dr. Green? Oh, oops.
Good evening. My name is Terry, Terry, Hirsch, Hersh, and I live at 2872 Hoddle Avenue. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight to the board. My name is Terry Hirsch, and I'm currently a Life Scout in Troop 29 in Easton, and I'm currently working on my Eagle Scout project, which is a multifaceted food drive for the benefit of the Salvation Army Easton Corps location. The first reason that I'm speaking to you tonight is to spread awareness that 1 in 10 citizens in the Lehigh Valley are living in ALICE, which stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed, which basically means that they work a full-time job, but they do not make enough money to pay for all of their essential needs, which includes food. So I know that this drive will help a lot of people who live in Alice, as the Salvation Army location that I'm going to be donating to donates to over 200 families and counting each month. The second reason that I'm speaking to you tonight is because one of the ways that I'm collecting food for this food drive is through leaving donation bins around at multiple businesses and other locations. And what I wanted to know, if I could do this, if I could leave a donation bin possibly in this municipal building or other municipal buildings to help aid in the collection of food.
Absolutely.
Of course.
All right.
Sure.
Thank you.
That was hard, wasn't it?
Thank you.
One, I would put the first one in the lobby, and then obviously if you want to put them in the playgrounds or pools, but not the playgrounds. We have food boxes in the playgrounds, but put one in the police department lobby also.
All right. I also have this list here of food items that we especially need. So if anybody would like one, where should I put this?
We'll take it.
We'll take it.
Thank you.
And when is your pickup date for that?
When we're bringing it to the Salvation Army, late May.
Okay, good.
Okay.
That'd probably get filled real quick.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
No problem, Terry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Good job.
Dr. Green?
Ken Green, 44 Center Square. At the risk of prolonging, I'll just be brief, because I did want to address the item, and I didn't do it under agenda items because I didn't think it would be, I didn't think the discussion would get to the level it did, but the discussion about calendars and holidays, and I thought I would just add a couple points. First, that I think Councilwoman Sultana, I thank you for bringing this issue up, because I think the way we respect religious holiday is really important, and I think there is a good reason to separate those. So I thank the council for having a really a good spirited but also serious discussion about that topic. I think the idea of creating a separate calendar that lists holidays and events is a really good idea, and I think one way that could further separate that from the city calendar is making sure that the city calendar doesn't include any of those other items. I think to Mr. Campos' point about the union contract, just a quick look at the calendar myself suggests that the only one that I see in conflict, Christmas would not be, it's a federal holiday, but Good Friday and Easter is not a federal holiday. And even though that's chosen by the union, it doesn't have to be listed that way on the city calendar. It could just be listed as staff holiday. I don't think there would be any reason not to do that. Again, I think then moving Good Friday and or Easter to another calendar that lists the celebrations that we want to honor would be very useful. It's the only one that I could see, but I just wanted to add that to the point. It's still, these are still things chosen by the through negotiation, and others that are federal holidays like Labor Day and others wouldn't be a problem because they are already federal holidays. But I just appreciate the discussion and thank you for taking it up.
What was your suggestion to call it instead of Good
Staff
Friday?
holiday.
Staff holiday without reason why that Friday in April. I think it would just more cleanly separate things, and then the religious aspect could be listed on a separate calendar. And I think Dr. Ruggles brings up a great point that it's going to be a delicate matter, and so I wish you well with that. But thank you for the time.
Thank you, Dr. Green. Anyone else like to address City Council?
No, I was talking to Ken.
Anyone else from the audience like to address City Council? Any comments, concerns, or questions? Seeing none?
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Thank you.